So hey guys, this is your favorite fictional vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto's bloodline was the origin of all devil fruits. Naruto x Nico Robin x Yamato, One Piece. But before we start, remember to subscribe and like this video. Now let's start. Chapter 1. Worlds collide. The ocean shattered like glass. Not metaphorically, the actual sea surface fractured into crystalline shards that hung suspended in midair for 3 impossible seconds. Fishermen on the nearby island of Ohara dropped their nets, scholars abandoned ancient texts, and children stopped mid-play as reality itself seemed to hiccup. In that frozen moment, something tore through the fabric between worlds, a jagged wound of crimson energy that pulsed like a heartbeat gone wrong. Then the crystallized ocean collapsed back upon itself with a thunderous roar, waves surging outward in perfect concentric circles. Where the dimensional fracture had opened, a single figure plummeted from 30 feet above, trailing wisps of golden energy that dissipated like morning mist. Naruto Uzumaki hit the water with bone-jarring force. The cold shocked Hi's system even as salt water invaded his nose and mouth. Disorientation seized him completely. One moment battling alongside Sasuke against Kagaya, the next drowning in an unfamiliar sea. His limbs felt impossibly heavy, as though gravity had doubled its hold on him. The more he struggled, the faster he sank. Am I dying? The thought was strangely calm as darkness crept in from the edges of his vision. After everything, this is how it ends. Something deep within him roared in defiance. Breathe, Kit. Kurama's voice thundered through his consciousness, and chakra erupted from his core in violent crimson waves. The sea around him began to boil, great columns of steam rising to the surface as the Nine Tails energy manifested. With a tremendous surge of power, Naruto propelled himself upward, breaking through the water's surface with an explosive burst that sent spray 30 feet into the air. Gasping desperately, he treaded water while trying to make sense of his surroundings. An unfamiliar coastline loomed nearby, its beaches pristine and inviting beneath a strange quality of sunlight he'd never seen before. The air tasted different, saltier, cleaner, with subtle undertones he couldn't identify. This isn't our world, Naruto muttered, his voice rough from saltwater. Kurama, what happened? The dimensional shifting technique that woman used, it must have gone wrong. We've been cast somewhere else entirely. Naruto grimaced, scanning the horizon. No other signs of battle, no trace of his friends or enemies. Just endless blue ocean stretching to meet equally blue sky. Can we get back? Kurama's silence was answer enough. With no better options, Naruto began swimming toward the shore with powerful, determined strokes. His body felt strange, his chakra responding differently, flowing through unfamiliar channels as though adapting to new laws of nature. By the time his feet touched sand, he'd made a decision. If we're stuck here, we adapt. We survive. We find a way home. The beach welcomed him with warm sand and gentle breezes. Naruto dropped to his knees, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming him. The dimensional transfer had drained him more than he realized. His soaked orange and black outfit clung uncomfortably to his skin as he forced himself to stand again, cerulean eyes scanning his surroundings with tactical precision. A well-worn path led from the beach into a forested area. Following his instincts, Naruto moved cautiously toward it, all senses alert for potential threats. The foliage was unlike anything in the elemental nations, more vibrant. Almost aggressively alive, fruits of shapes and colors he'd never imagined hung from branches, while unfamiliar birds called warnings of his approach. The path eventually opened on to a clearing where the remnants of stone structures lay partially buried beneath centuries of growth. Ancient columns, their surfaces carved with intricate symbols, reached toward the sky like accusing fingers. At the center stood a woman examining a fallen tablet with such intense concentration that she hadn't noticed his approach. Tall and slender with raven hair that fell just past her shoulders. She moved with deliberate grace as she brushed soil from the stone surface. Her fingers traced the symbols with almost reverent care while she murmured observations to herself. Something about our posture suggested both scholarly dedication and perpetual wariness, the stance of someone accustomed to looking over her shoulder. Naruto stepped on a twig. The sound barely registered to his own ears. But the woman's reaction was instantaneous and alarming. Her body blurred as multiple arms, actual additional limbs, not clones, sprouted from her torso. In less than a heartbeat, she had positioned herself in a defensive stance. Those uncanny extra appendages crossed before her. "Who are you?" Her voice carried the precise edge of someone who had asked this question before with lethal consequences for unsatisfactory answers. Naruto raised his hand slowly, a universal gesture of peace. "I'm lost," he replied honestly. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I mean no harm." Her eyes, a striking blue, that reminded him painfully of clear skies over Konoha, narrowed with suspicion. "This island is restricted. No ships have approached in days, and the nearest village is 20 miles inland. Explain yourself." The shinobi weighed his options. The truth seemed too fantastical, but he'd never been much good at elaborate lies. "I fell from the sky," he said simply. "There was a battle, a technique went wrong. And I ended up in your ocean. I don't know where I am or how to get home." To his surprise, her expression shifted from suspicion to analytical curiosity. The extra arms didn't vanish, but they relaxed slightly. "From the sky," she repeated, her tone neutral but eyes intensely focused. "Not from the heavens. Not a celestial." "I don't know what that means," Naruto admitted. "I'm from a place called Konohagakure. The village hidden in the leaves. Does that mean anything to you?" Something flickered across her features. Not recognition, but the shadow of possibility. She studied him more carefully. Taking in his unusual clothing, the strange markings on his cheeks, the headband with its spiral leaf symbol. "That spiral," she said suddenly, pointing to the emblem on his shoulder. "What does it represent?" Naruto glanced down at the red swirl adorning his sleeve. "It's the symbol of the Uzumaki clan. My mother's people." This answer seemed to intrigue her further. With fluid grace, she knelt beside the stone tablet she'd been examining and gestured for him to approach. When he did, she pointed to a weathered symbol carved into its surface, a spiral pattern eerily similar to the Uzumaki crest. "This site is approximately 800 years old," she explained, her voice taking on a lecturer's precision. "These symbols have never been fully translated, but they appear concise on certain ancient ruins throughout the Grand Line." "Grand Line?" Naruto questioned. Her extra arms finally disappeared in a flutter of pink petals, a sight so bizarre that Naruto nearly missed her response. "You truly aren't from this world, are you?" It wasn't really a question. Her gaze had transformed from suspicious to intensely analytical. "My name is Nico Robin. I'm an archaeology saint studying the remnants of a civilization that existed during what we call the Void Century." Thunder rumbled in the distance, drawing both their attention to the horizon where dark clouds had begun gathering with unnatural speed. The storm's approach seemed accelerated beyond normal weather patterns, massive thunderheads boiling upward like an explosion in slow motion. "That's not a natural formation," Robin observed, already gathering her tools with efficient movements. "We should seek shelter. These ruins contain underground chambers that have weathered centuries of storms." Naruto's instincts flared. "Something's wrong with that storm. I can feel it." Robin paused, studying him with renewed interest. "Feel it how?" "The energy's wrong." He struggled to articulate the sensation. "It's like it's responding to something. To me, maybe." "Are you a devil fruit user?" she asked sharply. Before he could ask what that meant, the ground beneath them trembled. Subtle at first, the vibration rapidly intensified until small stones danced across the ruins. Robin's expression darkened as she pointed toward the forest where trees had begun swaying violently despite the relative calm around the archaeological site. "Earthquake," she stated, already moving toward a partially excavated entrance nestled between two fallen columns. "This island sits on a fault line. The chambers be low or reinforced with seastone. They've survived worse." Naruto remained rooted in place, head tilted as though listening to an inaudible conversation. Inside his mind, Kurama had gone uncharacteristically still. "Kit, this world's natural energy is reacting to our presence. The dimensional transfer created a disturbance that's still propagating outward. We need to stabilize it," Naruto murmured, ignoring Robin's questioning look. "If I try to enter Sage mode, could we absorb the excess energy?" "Risky. This world's chakra flows differently. It could overwhelm your system." "Who are you talking to?" Robin had paused at the chamber in trance, her expression a mixture of concern and scientific fascination. Instead of answering, Naruto closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the ground. Please take cover. I'm going to try something that might help. Robin hesitated, clearly torn between self-preservation and witnessing something potentially unprecedented. Academic curiosity won out. She remained at the entrance, ready to retreat if necessary, but unwilling to miss whatever this strange man was about to attempt. Naruto's breathing slowed as he sought the familiar sensation of natural energy. What he encountered instead nearly shattered his concentration, a wild, untamed flow of power that seemed to dance around him in chaotic patterns. Unlike the steady, balanced energy of his world, this nature chakra pulsed with almost sentient rhythm, simultaneously inviting and repelling his attempts to connect with it. Careful, Kurama warned. It's reacting to your Uzumaki bloodline strangely. Almost like recognition. Sweat beaded on Naruto's forehead as he cautiously extended his awareness, not attempting to draw in the energy yet, simply trying to harmonize with its flow. The ground continued to shake, and the approaching storm had begun generating lightning that struck the ocean in brilliant blue-white forks. Robin watched in astonishment as the air around Naruto began to shimmer with visible energy, golden threads that coalesced and danced around his seated form. The vibrations beneath their feet intensified momentarily, then began to subside. As those golden filaments spread outward in expanding rings, the shinobi opened his eyes, now rimmed with orange-red markings of imperfect sage mode. When he spoke, his voice carried additional harmonic undertones. This world knows me, he said with wonder, or at least, it knows my bloodline. The earthquake settled into minor tremors, then ceased entirely. The unnatural storm continued aching but had lost its violent intensity, transforming into ordinary rain clouds. Naruto rose to his feet with fluid grace that hadn't been present before, his movements perfectly balanced and economical. Robin's scientific mind raced with possibilities. What exactly did you do? I synchronized with the natural energy, Naruto explained, though he looked slightly puzzled himself. But it was different from my world. Here, it's almost like the energy has memory, intelligence. A raindrop struck his cheek, followed rapidly by dozens more as the storm finally reached them. Unlike the violence they'd anticipated, it was merely a heavy rainfall, cleansing and necessary rather than destructive. We should still take shelter, Robin advised, gesturing toward the underground entrance. I have many questions for you, Naruto Uzumaki. The chambers below proved surprisingly spacious and well-preserved. Robin lit several lanterns she'd stashed throughout the excavation, revealing walls overed in the same spiral patterns they'd observed above. In this protected space, the symbols formed part of larger murals depicting strange trees bearing spiral-marked fruit. These ruins are unusual, Robin explained as she laid out her equipment on a stone table. Most archaeological sites from this period were thoroughly destroyed during the Great Cleansing. This one was only recently discovered because the island itself doesn't appear on standard log poses. Log poses? Naruto questioned, examining the murals with growing interest. Navigational tools, she clarified. This world has unusual properties. Conventional compasses don't function reliably. As she arranged her notes, Naruto noticed her occasionally forming extra hands to hold pages or retrieve items, a casual display. Why of an ability that would have been considered exceptional even among shinobi? Your technique, he ventured. The extra arms. Is that common here? Robin's expression cooled slightly. I ate the hana no mi, the flower fruit. It's a devil fruit that grants the user specific abilities at the cost of never being able to swim again. Devil fruit, Naruto repeated, the term stirring something in his memory. You asked if I was a user before. Yes, devil fruit users have certain characteristics. They give off a particular presence that experienced individuals can sometimes sense. She studied him carefully. But you're different. Your energy feels similar yet fundamentally distinct. Their conversation paused as a particularly loud thunderclap shook dust from the chamber ceiling. Robin glanced upward with mild concern before returning to her methodical documentation of the site. You said you're studying a lost civilization, Naruto prompted after several minutes of silence. What happened to them? Robin's hand stilled momentarily. When she answered, her voice carried carefully controlled neutrality that failed to completely mask deeper emotions. That question has consumed my entire life, she admitted. The world government forbids study of the Void Century, a 100-year period from which almost all historical records have been systematically erased. Those who pursue this knowledge are hunted and eliminated. Yet here you are, Naruto observed. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Yet here I am. She hesitated, then reached into her pack and withdrew a carefully wrapped object. Unfolding protective layers revealed a stone tablet smaller than her palm, its surface carved with the now familiar spiral surrounded by script Naruto couldn't decipher. This fragment mentions visitors from beyond the veil, who brought fruits of power to our world, she explained, pointing to specific symbols. Most archaeologists dismissed it as mythology, but certain elements correlate with verifiable aspects of devil fruits. Naruto leaned closer, an inexplicable sensation of recognition washing over him. Without thinking, he reached toward the tablet. The moment his fingers contacted the stone, searing pain shot up his arm. Both he and Robin recoiled as the ancient fragment began to glow with internal golden light, the carved spiral seemingly rotating before their eyes. That's impossible, Robin whispered, equal parts alarmed and fascinated. These artifacts have never reacted to anything before. Naruto stared at his palm where the stone had burned a perfect spiral pattern into his skin, not a burn of heat, but of pure energy. The mark pulsed once, twice, then faded as though absorbed into his body. The stone recognized your blood, Kurama rumbled within his mind. The Uzumaki chakra resonated with whatever power imbues these artifacts. Before Naruto could respond, a violent tremor shook the underground chamber, far stronger than the earlier earthquake. Dust and small stones rained from the ceiling as cracks raced across the ancient support structures. That's not a natural quake, Robin stated, already gathering her most essential notes. Something's attacking the island. They raced for the surface, emerging into chaos. The storm had intensified again, but now Naruto could sense the difference. This wasn't nature responding to dimensional disturbance, this was deliberate destructive intent. Through sheets of rain, they spotted the source, a massive warship anchored offshore, its black flag bearing a stylized seagull rather than the skull and crossbones Naruto might have expected. Uniformed figures moved efficiently across its deck while smaller vessels approached the beach. World government, Robin hissed. Her face suddenly drained of color. Marines. They must have detected unusual energy signatures. She turned to Naruto, expression grave. They're after me, or possibly you now. We need to separate. I don't abandon allies, Naruto stated flatly, already scanning the tactical situation. We're not allies, Robin countered, though without conviction. You don't understand what you're facing. These people will capture, experiment on, and ultimately eliminate anything they consider a threat to their version of order. A cannon shot boomed across the water, its shell landing close enough to shower them with wet sand and shrapnel. Robin instinctively crossed her arms, sprouting a wall of limbs that shielded them both from debris. Thanks, Naruto said with a grin that seemed entirely inappropriate for their dire circumstances. But now it's my turn. Before Robin could protest, he bit his thumb, drawing blood, and performed a series of hand signs with blinding speed. Slamming his palm to the ground, he shouted, "Kuchio's no jutsu." The resulting explosion of smoke momentarily obscured them from the approaching Marines. When it cleared, a massive toad larger than a house stood on the beach. Its webbed hand already reaching for the enormous blade strapped to its back. Gamakichi, Naruto called up to the bewildered amphibian. I know this is confusing, but we need extraction, now. The giant toad blinked yellow eyes in astonishment, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. Naruto, what the hell? This doesn't smell like home at all. Long story, tell you later, Naruto replied, turning to Robin who stood frozen in shock. Are you coming or staying? Her hesitation lasted less than a second. With practiced urgency born from a lifetime on the run, she gathered her essential research materials. Those ruins contain irreplaceable historical knowledge. We'll come back when it's safer, Naruto promised, extending his hand. After a moment's pause, she took it. With a powerful leap that defied the massive creature's apparent weight, Gamakichi bounded away from the beach just as Marines reached the shore. Bullets whistled past them, most missing their rapidly moving target. Head inland, Robin directed, pointing toward distant mountains. There's a fishing village on the other side with boats we might secure. As they traveled, Naruto briefly explained his situation to both Robin and the increasingly bewildered Gamakichi. The giant toad took the news of dimensional displacement with surprising equanimity. "Wouldn't be the first time weird stuff happened around you," the summon observed dryly, "but I don't think I can reverse summon us home from here. The connection feels stretched." "We'll figure it out," Naruto assured him. "For now, we focus on immediate survival." Robin studied their unusual transportation with scholarly interest despite their precarious situation. "A summoning contract," she mused. "Similar concepts exist in ancient texts, but no confirmed modern applications." Her analytical gaze shifted to Naruto. "Your abilities aren't devil fruit based at all, are they?" "No," he confirmed. "Where I come from, we use chakra, spiritual and physical energy combined. It lets us perform various techniques depending on one's affinity and training." Their conversation paused as Gamakichi navigated a particularly dense section of forest. In the distance, they could hear the marine forces regrouping, likely bringing in trackers to follow their trail. "They're unusually determined," Robin noted with concern. "Standard D protocol for archaeological sites is documentation and seizure, not immediate destruction. Something about this particular location, or your arrival, has them alarmed. Or something about your presence together," Kurama suggested within Naruto's mind. "The stone's reaction to your blood plus her knowledge might represent a combination they fear." Night was falling by the time they reached the village Robin had mentioned, a small collection of wooden structures nestled in a natural harbor. Gamakichi remained hidden in the forest while Naruto and Robin approached cautiously. The settlement appeared peaceful, with fishing boats gently bobbing in the protected waters and smoke rising from chimneys. Lanterns hung from posts cast warm golden light across worn wooden docks. "We need to be careful," Robin advised. "My face is known throughout much of the world. The world government has spent decades ensuring I'm recognized as a dangerous criminal." Naruto studied her thoughtfully. "What exactly did you do to earn that kind of attention?" "I was born," she answered simply, though the weight behind those words suggested volumes left unspoken. "My home island was destroyed because, say scholars there discovered forbidden knowledge. I was the only survivor." Before Naruto could respond, shouts erupted from the village center. Uniformed Marines were already present, methodically moving from house to house with evident purpose. "They've beaten us here," Robin whispered, instinctively stepping back toward the forest's concealment. "They must have called ahead to stations throughout the region." A grizzled officer stood at the village square, reading from an official document to gathered residents. "Harboring the demon child Nico Robin or the unidentified yellow-haired C accomplice will result in severe penalties under World Government Statute 23B. Information leading to their capture will be generously rewarded." Robin's expression hardened into something between resignation and determination. "We should leave. When they don't find us, they'll eventually move on. These villagers don't deserve to be caught in the middle." Naruto frowned, assessing the situation with tactical precision that belied his normally carefree demeanor. "They're cutting off escape routes. Even if we leave, they'll expand the search perimeter. Eventually, they'll find Gamakichi. He's not exactly inconspicuous." "Then what do you suggest?" "Fighting the entire Marine Corps." "Not the entire Corps," Naruto corrected with a grin that contained surprising confidence. "Just this detachment. Create enough confusion for us to secure a boat, then disappear before reinforcements arrive." Robin stared at him incredulously. "That's at least 60 trained Marines with firearms and possibly devil fruit abilities." "Good odds," Naruto replied with a wink. His hands formed a familiar cross-shaped seal. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." The forest around them erupted with puffs of smoke as dozens of perfect copies of Naruto materialized. Each clone possessed the same determined expression, the same physical substance, the same capabilities as the original. Robin's normally composed features registered genuine shock. "Those aren't illusions. They're physical duplicates." "Yep, each one's got a portion of my chakra and consciousness." Naruto turned to his small army of clones. "Create a distraction. Non-lethal takedowns only. These Marines are just following orders. Primary objective is securing ocean transportation." The clones nodded in unison before dispersing in different directions with practiced stealth. Naruto turned back to Robin with unexpected seriousness. I need to know, are you worth protecting? Not your knowledge or abilities, but you as a person. Because I'm about to risk a lot based on just a few hours of acquaintance. The question seemed to catch her completely off guard. Robin had spent decades being valued, or hunted, for what she knew or what she could do. Being assessed on her intrinsic worth as an individual was so unfamiliar that she momentarily struggled to respond. I seek the truth, she finally answered. About a past that others have violently suppressed. I believe people deserve to know their true history, regardless of how uncomfortable that knowledge might be. Naruto nodded, apparently satisfied. Good enough for me, let's go. First explosion came from the far side of the village, not destructive, but producing enormous clouds of colored smoke that immediately drew Marines in that direction. A second diversion erupted near the harbor, where multiple Naruto clones transformed themselves to look like Robin, running in different directions. In the resulting chaos, the real Naruto and Robin moved swiftly toward the docks. A pair of Marines guarding the boats found themselves suddenly restrained by hands sprouting from their own bodies, courtesy of Robin's ability, before being rendered unconscious by precise strikes from Naruto. The fishing vessel with the blue trim, Robin directed, pointing to a sturdy-looking craft. It's designed for deeper waters. They had nearly reached it when a distinctive whistling sound cut through the night air. Robin's eyes widened in alarm. Move, she shouted, shoving Naruto aside as something slammed into the dock where they'd been standing, splintering wood and sending fragments flying in all directions. A tall figure landed gracefully where the projectile had struck. Male, powerfully built, with a Marine officer's coat hanging from broad shoulders. His most distinctive feature was the massive iron staff he wielded, the apparent source of the attack. Nico Robin, he stated with cold formality. And an unidentified individual with abilities matching no known devil fruit. You were both hereby detained under world government security protocols. Robin's posture shifted subtly, a tension that spoke of past encounters with similar authorities. Captain Shimazu, still doing CP9's dirty work. The man's expression remained impassive. The protection of world stability requires many approaches. You've evaded justice long enough, demon child. Naruto stepped forward, positioning himself slightly ahead of Robin. I don't know what grievance you have with her, but where I come from, we don't condemn people for seeking knowledge. Where you come from? Shimazu repeated with sudden intensity. That's precisely what we need to determine. His gaze shifted to something behind them. And it seems we have the perfect motivation for your cooperation. Turning, they saw Marines had surrounded Gamakichi in the forest clearing. The giant toad was defending himself admirably, but tranquilizer rounds had already begun taking effect, slowing his movements. Surrender yourselves, or we'll dissect your unusual friend to better understand its properties, Shimazu stated flatly. Naruto's expression darkened. The whisker marks on his cheeks seemed to deepen as a subtle red glow manifested in his normally blue eyes. You've made 3 mistakes, he said, voice dropping to a dangerous register. First, threatening my friend. Second, assuming I'd abandon him. Third, a swirling sphere of condensed chakra formed in his palm, its blue-white energy illuminating the dock. Underestimating what I'm capable of. Before Shimazu could respond, Naruto vanished. From sight. Pure speed rather than teleportation, reappearing directly before the Marine officer with his Rasengan thrust forward. Shimazu barely managed to interpose his staff, which absorbed much the impact but still sent him flying backward through a warehouse wall. Robin, get to the boat, Naruto called, already creating more shadow clones that raced toward the forest to assist Gamakichi. The archaeologist didn't waste time arguing. She sprinted for the vessel, using her ability to create chains of arms that passed supplies rapidly from dock to deck. Within moments she had the essentials aboard and was preparing the rigging. Shimazu emerged from the shattered warehouse, blood trickling from a cut above his eye but otherwise unharmed. His expression had transformed from professional detachment to focused intensity. Interesting, he murmured, spinning his staff with increasing speed until it became a blur. You're not using a devil fruit at all, are you? Something else entirely. The staff suddenly extended with impossible speed, its length multiplying instantaneously to strike Naruto squarely in the chest. The impact sent him skidding across the dock, splintering wooden planks beneath him. Size manipulation, Shimazu explained conversationally, retracting the weapon to normal proportions. Not quite a Logia or Paramesha classification. The world government has specialized resources. Naruto rose, a fox-like grin spreading across his features despite the hit he'd taken. Good. I was worried this would be too easy. This time, he formed 2 Rasengan simultaneously, one in each hand. As he charged forward, Shimazu prepared to defend, only to discover he was attacking a shadow clone. The real Naruto descended from above, both spiraling spheres aimed at the marine officer. Shimazu's reflexes were impressive. He managed to evade one Rasengan entirely and block the second with his staff. The resulting energy discharge created a shockwave that cleared the entire dock area, sending other marines tumbling. Naruto, Robin called from the boat, which was now ready to depart. Gamakichi. The giant toad had broken free of his encirclement, though moving sluggishly from tranquilizers. He made a valiant leap toward the harbor, landing with a splash that sent water cascading over the docks. "I'll hold them off," Naruto shouted, creating another wave of shadow clones that engaged the regrouping marines. "Get Gamakichi on board and ready to sail." Robin's ability proved invaluable as she created chains of arms to help the drugged toad climb aboard the reinforced fishing vessel. The boat creaked ominously under his weight but remained afloat, barely. Meanwhile, Naruto faced Shimazu in direct combat. The marine officer moved with precision born from years of elite training, his staff becoming virtually invisible as it struck from multiple angles simultaneously. Naruto matched him with the adaptive taijutsu style he'd developed, enhanced by his natural sensory abilities. "You fight like no one I've encountered in these waters," Shimazu observed during a momentary pause in their exchange. "The world government would value such skills appropriately if you surrendered the woman." "Not happening," Naruto replied flatly. "I don't abandon people, especially not to faceless authorities with destruction as their first response." Their clash resumed with increased intensity. Naruto gradually gave ground, allowing himself to be driven back toward the boat in a fighting retreat. Shimazu pressed his advantage, unaware it was exactly what the shinobi intended. The moment Naruto's feet touched the vessel's deck, Robin released the mooring lines. With perfect timing, Gamakichi, somewhat recovered from the tranquilizers, slammed a massive webbed foot into the water, propelling the boat away from the dock with explosive force. Shimazu extended his staff to impossible length, attempting to either pull himself aboard or drag the boat back. Naruto met the attack with a precisely timed Rasengan that shattered the weapon's head, leaving the marine captain standing on the dock with a broken implement as they pulled away into the darkness. "This isn't over," Shimazu called after them, his voice carrying clearly across the water. "That man radiates energy unlike anything in our records. Every marine base in the region will be hunting you before dawn." As the village receded into the distance, Robin skillfully navigated through the harbor's natural channel toward open water. Gamakichi had settled in the boat's center, trying to maintain balance while fighting off the remaining effects of the tranquilizers. "You realize what you've done?" Robin asked quietly once they'd reached safer waters. "You've aligned yourself with one of the world's most wanted criminals and directly opposed the Marines. There's no walking that back." Naruto shrugged, watching the stars emerge above, constellations entirely foreign to him. "Wouldn't it be the first time I've been on someone's wanted list? Besides, I make my own judgments about right and wrong. How can you be so casual about this?" There was genuine curiosity in her question rather than accusation. "You've potentially stranded yourself in an unfamiliar world, made powerful enemies within hours of arriving, and tied your fate to a woman you barely know." "I'm good at reading people," Naruto replied, turning to face her fully. "And I don't sense evil in you, just determination and old pain. As for being stranded," he glanced upward again, "if there's a way in, there's a way home. But first, I need to understand this world better." Robin studied him thoughtfully, her scholar's mind cataloging observations. "You're either remarkably adaptable or dangerously reckless." "Both, probably," Naruto admitted with a grin. "Now, tell me more about these devil fruits and why the world government is so afraid of ancient history." As their boat cut through dark waters under starlight, Robin found herself explaining the fundamentals of her world to this strange visitor. The Grand Line with its unpredictable weather and magnetic fields. The Four Blues. The structure of world power balanced between Marines, Emperors, and the Revolutionary Army. Throughout her explanation, Naruto listened with unexpected intensity, asking incisive questions that revealed a tactical mind behind his carefree exterior. So these devil fruits grant specific powers but make you unable to swim, he summarized eventually. And no one knows where they originated or how they work, just that they reappear after users die. Correct, Robin confirmed. The world government controls information about them carefully. Most research is conducted by Dr. Vegapunk under strict supervision. And they're somehow connected to those spiral symbols we saw in the ruins, Naruto mused, touching his palm where the stone had burned its mark. Which resembled my clan's crest. The Uzumaki spiral, Robin nodded. The coincidence is statistically improbable. Dawn was breaking on the horizon, painting the sky in watercolor hues of amber and rose. Gamakichi, finally recovered from the tranquilizers, leaned carefully over the boat's edge to scoop up seawater for examination. This place feels different all the way down to the molecular level, the toad observed. The natural energy is structured unlike anything in our world. More fluid, less defined. Almost like it's waiting for something to give it shape. The toad is right, asterisk asterisk, Kurama rumbled within Naruto's mind. This world's energy seems unfinished somehow. Raw, and it responds unusually to your chakra. Naruto relayed this observation to Robin, who considered it with scholarly interest. There are legends about the creation of our world, myths that the world government has systematically suppressed. Some suggest reality itself was once more malleable. Their conversation paused as Gamakichi suddenly tensed, his massive form going unnaturally still. Something's coming, the toad warned. From below, something big. The ocean around their vessel began to churn, subtle at first, then with increasing violence. Water bulged upward as though pushed from beneath by immense pressure. Robin's expression shifted from curiosity to alarm. Sea King, she stated tersely, already moving to secure loose equipment. A large one, Sea King, Naruto questioned, bracing himself as the boat began to rock dramatically. His answer emerged from the depths with catastrophic force, a serpentine creature larger than most buildings in Konoha. Its scaled body glistening wetly in the dawn light as it towered above their vessel. Massive jaws lined with teeth the size of swords opened in a roar that vibrated through the very air. That's unexpected, Naruto managed, sizing up their adversary with remarkable composure. Robin's multiple arms sprouted across the boat, securing rigging and preparing for evasive maneuvers. They're attracted to unusual energy signatures. Your arrival likely disturbed its territory. The Sea King struck with surprising speed for its enormous size, jaws descending toward their fragile craft. Gamakichi reacted instantly, drawing his blade and intercepting the attack with a powerful counter-strike that glanced off armored scales but diverted the monster's trajectory. Its hide is reinforced, the toad reported. Readying for another assault. Standard attacks won't penetrate easily. Naruto nodded, hands already forming seals. Then we go non-standard. Multiple Shadow W clones appeared across the boat and immediately leapt toward the Sea King, each forming Rasengans as they approached. The creature thrashed violently, destroying several clones but missing others. WHO managed to land their attacks against its flank. The spiraling chakra spheres ground against scales, eventually penetrating to softer tissue beneath. The Sea King roared in pain and fury, its massive tail sweeping across the water's surface with enough force to create a localized tsunami. Robin crossed her arms in her signature stance, creating a network of limbs that anchored everyone to the boat as the waves struck. It's not retreating, she observed as the vessel righted itself. Sea Kings typically withdraw after being injured unless protecting territory or young. The creature circled their boat, its massive eye, larger than Naruto himself, studying them with unexpected intelligence. Then it submerged with barely a ripple, vanishing into the depths. That's not reassuring, Gamakichi commented, blade still ready. Minutes passed in tense silence. The ocean appeared calm, deceptively peaceful under the brightening sky. Naruto extended his sensory abilities, trying to locate their adversary. But the unfamiliar properties of this world's natural energy interfered with his usual techniques. It's directly below us, he finally determined, the realization coming a moment too late. The Sea King erupted from beneath their vessel with devastating force, jaws closing around the boat's center. Wood splintered, and the craft began breaking apart as the creature lifted it entirely from the water. Gamakichi grabbed Robin with one webbed hand while slicing at the monster's eye with his blade. Naruto leapt upward, landing atop the Sea King's head with chakra-enhanced feet anchoring him to the slippery scales. "We need to end this quickly," he shouted, forming a more complex hand-seal sequence. Wind style. Rasenshuriken. The technique manifested above his palm, a Rasen. Gon surrounded by a shuriken-like blade of wind chakra that emitted a distinctive high-pitched screech. With precise aim, Naruto hurled it directly at the junction between the Sea King's head and body. The impact was catastrophic. The Rasenshuriken expanded upon contact, creating a perfect sphere of devastation that severed scales, muscle, and eventually vertebrae with microscopic wind blades. Sea King's roar transformed into a gurgle as its head separated entirely from its body, both parts crashing back into the ocean with mountainous splashes. Naruto, Robin, and Gamakichi found themselves. Vase plunged into churning waters as their boat disintegrated completely. The shinobi surfaced quickly, locating Robin struggling to stay afloat, the devil fruit user's curse manifesting as her strength rapidly drained in the seawater. "I've got you," he assured her, swimming with powerful strokes to her side and supporting her with one arm. Gamakichi, the giant toad, emerged nearby, relatively untroubled by the aquatic environment. "I'm fine, but we're miles from shore in any direction. Even I can't carry both of you that distance." Naruto frowned, assessing their options while keeping Robin's head above water. Her condition was deteriorating rapidly. Devil fruit users apparently suffered far worse effects from seawater immersion than simple inability to swim. "There," Robin managed weakly, pointing toward the floating remains of the Sea King. "Temporary shelter while we figure something out." With Gamakichi's assistance, they reached the creature's massive corpse, which provided a gruesome but functional raft. Once Robin was safely atop the improvised platform, her strength began returning slowly. "That was unlike any technique I've seen," she observed once she could speak normally again. "Not even the most powerful Paramesha or Logia users can create effects that precise and destructive." Naruto sat cross-legged, wringing water from his jacket. "It's a technique I developed by combining wind-nature transformation with shape transformation. Took years to perfect, and nearly killed you several times in the process," Gamakichi added dryly. Their momentary respite was interrupted by an unexpected sound, rhythmic splashing approaching from the east. All three turned to see a small vessel cutting through the waves toward them, its distinctive sail bearing the image of a Jolly Roger. "Pirates," Robin identified, her expression carefully neutral. "The question is, which crew?" The approaching ship altered course directly toward them, evidently having spotted the enormous Sea King carcass. As it drew nearer, they could make out figures moving on deck, one in particular standing at the bow, pointing excitedly toward them. "That's unusual construction," Naruto observed, noting the ship's distinctive figurehead carved to resemble a smiling lion or sunflower. "Friendly. Depends entirely on the captain," Robin replied. Her posture had subtly shifted, readiness evident in every line of her body. In this world, pirate can mean anything from murderous thief to freedom fighter. The ship drew alongside their macabre raft, allowing them to see its occupants clearly. A young man in a distinctive straw hat leaned dangerously far over the railing, his face split with an enormous grin that somehow matched his vessel's figurehead. "Oi," he shouted enthusiastically. "Did you guys take down that Sea King? That's awesome. Wanna join my crew?" Robin's tension visibly dissolved, replaced by something approaching relief. "It seems," she said with the first genuine smile Naruto had seen from her, "that fortune occasionally favors the dimensional traveler." The straw-hatted young man continued shouting questions about the Sea King, seemingly unconcerned with conventional greetings or explanations. Behind him, a long-nosed individual argued with a well-dressed blonde man about the logistics of bringing 3 additional people aboard, while a small, furry creature that resembled a raccoon-dog hybrid peered curiously at them from between railing posts. "Friends of yours?" Naruto asked Robin, helping her to her feet as Gamakichi prepared to assist their transfer to the pirate vessel. "Better," she replied. "Family." As they prepared to board the unusual ship with its even more unusual crew, Naruto felt something stir within him, not Kurama this time, but a sense of possibility. This world, with its bizarre creatures and distinctive energy, its ancient mysteries and modern conflicts, wasn't what he'd expected or wanted. But something about it called to him on a level beyond conscious thought. You feel it too, ***, Kurama observed. This place recognizes you, Kit. The question is, why? Looking down at his palm where the spiral mark had briefly appeared, Naruto couldn't help wondering if he'd been brought here by accident after all, or if something more fundamental was at work, a connection between his bloodline and this world's origins that transcended dimensional boundaries. Whatever the truth, he would face it as he always had, head on, with unwavering determination and the will to forge his own path regardless of destiny's plans. Ready? Robin asked as a rope ladder unfurled from the pirate ship. Naruto nodded, the spiral mark on his palm briefly glowing gold before fading once more beneath his skin. Ready. Chapter 1 End. Chapter 2. Echoes of the Void Century. The Thousand Sunny creaked gently as it sliced through calm waters, its lion figurehead smiling defiantly at whatever adventures lay ahead. 3 days had passed since Naruto's unexpected rescue, days filled with explanations, demonstrations, and the barely contained chaos that seemed to follow the Straw Hat Pirates like a devoted shadow. Naruto leaned against the ship's railing, watching the horizon melt from deep purple to blazing orange as dawn approached. Sleep remained elusive in this strange world, his body still adjusting to subtle differences in gravity, atmosphere, and natural energy. In these quiet moments, he often found himself seeking answers from the only other being who truly understood his situation. Still troubled by yesterday's discovery, Kurama's voice rumbled through his consciousness. Wouldn't you be? Naruto replied softly, glancing down at his palm where Robin had applied an ancient text-revealing technique. The spiral mark had reappeared briefly, accompanied by unfamiliar script that matched certain poneglyphs she'd been studying. A light footfall behind him interrupted the internal conversation. Naruto didn't need to turn to recognize Robin's distinctive gait, measured, precise, ever vigilant despite her apparent comfort among her crewmates. "You're up early," she observed, joining him at the railing. Her dark hair caught the first golden rays of sunrise, framing features that remained carefully composed even in these unguarded moments. "Never been much for sleeping in," Naruto replied with a half-smile. "Too much to think about." Robin nodded, understanding without requiring elaboration. During their brief time together, they'd developed an easy communication that surprised them both. Two perpetual outsiders recognizing something familiar in the other's experiences. "Captain Luffy has agreed to our detour," she informed him, producing a weathered chart annotated with her elegant handwriting. "The island appears on no official maps, but certain historical texts reference its location using astronomical alignments that occur only once every 50 years. And that alignment happens soon. 3 days from now." Robin traced a path through uncharted waters. "The ruins there reportedly contain poneglyphs that specifically address the origin of devil fruits. Given your unique reaction to certain artifacts, it seems worth investigating." Naruto studied the chart, impressed by the precision of her calculations despite limited information. "This laughing fellow," laughed Tail. Robin corrected gently. "Right, you think it might hold answers about how to get me home." Robin's expression remained neutral, but something flickered behind her eyes, perhaps concern, perhaps something else entirely. "It's possible. The final island contains historical knowledge beyond anything elsewhere in this world. If dimensional travel occurred during the Void Century as certain fragments suggest, records of the method might exist there." Before Naruto could respond, the ship's kitchen door burst open with explosive force. A young man in a straw hat rocketed across the deck with limbs stretching to impossible lengths, pursued by an enraged blonde man wielding a massive spatula. "Luffy, those ingredients were for everyone's breakfast, not your midnight snack." The cook's fury manifested in flames that somehow engulfed his form without consuming the wooden ship beneath him. The stretching captain laughed while evading capture, his rubbery body contorting in ways that would have shattered normal human anatomy. "Sorry, Sanji, I was having meat dreams and woke up hungry." Naruto watched the chaotic display with amused bewilderment. Despite days aboard the Sunny, He still hadn't fully adjusted to the sheer unpredictability of its crew. The ship housed a stretchy rubber man, a three-sword swordsman with perpetually poor directional sense, a thieving navigator who could predict weather patterns with uncanny precision, a compulsive liar with surprising marksmanship, a reindeer human doctor, a cyborg shipwright, a skeleton musician, and of course, Robbie N herself, each with abilities that would qualify as extraordinary even in the ninja world. "Your captain," Naruto began. As uniquely himself, Robin finished with subtle fondness. "We've grown accustomed to it." The morning routine gradually established itself around them. Sanji eventually forgave Luffy long enough to prepare a magnificent breakfast. Nami emerged from her cabin with Navigati, Onal instruments and a temper that flared when she discovered their course had been altered. Usopp regaled a wide-eyed Chopper with improbable tales of his adventures. Brook composed melodies that drifted across the waves. Frankie made adjustments to the ship's systems with metallic clangs punctuating his enthusiastic exclamations of "Super!" And Zoro, having appeared from nowhere in particular, began a training regimen involving weights that would have crushed ordinary humans. Gamakichi, who had initially terrified half the crew before being accepted as yet another impossibility in their extraordinary journey, lounged near the stern where he could occasionally reach into the sea for passing fish. The giant toad had developed a particular friendship with Jinbei, the fishman helmsman who seemed relieved to find someone else who understood aquatic environments. Naruto joined the crew for breakfast, still marveling at the sheer variety and quality of Sanji's cooking. He'd been welcomed without reservation after Luffy's impulsive invitation, the captain's judgment of character apparently considered sufficient vetting by his loyal crew. "So, Naruto," Luffy began through a mouthful of food, "when are you going to show me that cool spinning ball thing again? The one that cut the sea monster's head off." "It's called Rasenshuriken," Naruto explained patiently, having already been through this conversation several times. "And it's not something I demonstrate casually. It could damage your ship. But you promised to teach me." "I said I'd explain the theory, not that I'd teach you the technique." Naruto grinned at the captain's disappointed expression. "Besides, it requires chakra control that works differently from your devil fruit abilities." This technical distinction sailed completely over Luffy's head, but Robin leaned forward with scholarly interest. "You mentioned your chakra system involves combining physical and spiritual energies. I've been comparing it with what we know about devil fruit's effects on lineage factors. And," Naruto prompted when she paused thoughtfully, "the resemblance is uncanny. As though devil fruits are attempting to replicate nothing more integrated and comprehensive. A shadow of a more complete system." Their discussion was interrupted as Nami entered with navigational charts spread across her arms. "If we're really making this detour to Mystery Island, we need to alter course immediately. The currents in this region are treacherous, and we'll need precise timing to hit the narrow passage Robin described." The academic conversation transformed seamlessly into practical planning. Naruto found himself impressed yet again by how this eccentric group functioned with surprising efficiency when confronted with genuine challenges. Despite their peculiarities and frequent squabbles, each member executed their role with practiced skill. As the day progressed, Naruto alternated between assisting with ship operations and continuing his own training regimen. He'd discovered that maintaining his techniques required more concentration in this world. The natural energy behaved differently, responding to his chakra with unexpected resonance that sometimes amplified effects beyond his intentions. Late afternoon found him seated cross-legged on the Sunny's figurehead, attempting to synchronize with this world's nature chakra. Entering Sage mode had proven challenging. The energy here felt wilder, less structured, as though it hadn't been fully shaped by conscious use over centuries. "It reminds me of the chakra that existed before the Sage of Six Paths organized it, Kurama observed. Raw, potent, but undisciplined. Almost like it's younger," Naruto agreed. "Or developed along different lines." Hi's meditation was interrupted by Robin's approach. She carried an ancient-looking text bound in materials he couldn't identify, its edges glowing faintly with preserved protective seals. "I found something that might interest you," she said, carefully opening the volume to a marked page. "This is from the private collection I recovered before Ohara's destruction. It contains fragments copied from A poneglyph discovered in Alabasta nearly 40 years ago. Naruto examined the page she indicated. Though he couldn't read the original language, Robin had meticulously translated sections into modern script. One passage stood out immediately. When the visitors came through the spiral door, they brought knowledge of binding essence to form. From their blood sprouted the first trees, and from these trees came the fruits of awakened power. Thus was the covenant established between worlds. The spiral door, Naruto repeated, the words resonating on multiple levels. And blood connections to fruit-bearing trees. Robin nodded. The terminology is remarkably specific. Traditional scholars dismissed it as creation mythology, but now you have someone who literally traveled between dimensions and has the spiral symbol encoded in his blood, Naruto finished. Too many coincidences. My experience suggests coincidences rarely exist in historical matters, Robin replied. Especially concerning the Void Century. Their conversation paused as Usopp's voice called from the crow's nest. Marine vessels approaching from the northeast. Battle formation. 3 ships. The Sun. Y's deck erupted into organized activity. Frankie rushed to prepare defensive systems. Nami consulted weather conditions for potential advantages, and Zoro emerged from nowhere in particular, 3 swords already positioned for combat. Luffy bounded to the ship's bow, eagerly scanning the horizon for the approaching threat. They're moving in attack formation, Usopp reported, telescope extended. Wait, that's not a standard marine flag. The lead ship is flying some kind of special operations pennant. Robin joined Naruto at the railing, her expression uncharacteristically troubled. Specia L operations would be unusual in these waters. The nearest marine base shouldn't have those resources. The approaching vessels moved with precision that suggested elite training. Unlike typical marine pursuit patterns, they maintained perfect triangular formation while closing distance with remarkable speed. Something's off about their energy, Naruto observed, his senses extended. The lead ship has someone with a chakra signature that feels almost familiar. Before anyone could respond, the center vessel fired, not the expected cannonball, but a glowing projectile that arced high above the sunny before exploding into a shimmering net of energy that descended toward the deck. Evasive maneuvers, Nami shouted. Frankie, coup de burst. No time. The cyborg shipwright yanked a lever, activating the soldier dock system instead. The Sunny lurched sideways as auxiliary propulsion engaged, narrowly avoiding the energy net that sizzled against the ocean surface where they had been moments before. Through his heightened senses, Naruto detected a subtle pulse emanating from the lead ship, not a weapon, but a scanning technique. Something or someone was actively searching for specific energy signatures. They're tracking me, he realized aloud. That's not a random patrol, they're specifically hunting for my chakra. Robin's expression hardened. How would they even know to look for you? Unless they detected the dimensional breach when I arrived, Naruto finished. Or they've encountered something similar before. The pursuing ships adjusted course with unsettling precision, compensating for the Sunny's evasive tactics with predictive calculations that shouldn't have been possible without intimate knowledge of the vessel's capabilities. Prepare for direct confrontation, Luffy ordered, his normally carefree demeanor shifting to the focused intensity of a captain protecting his crew. Zoro, Sanji, forward defense. Usopp, suppression fire. Jinbei, prepare for aquatic counterattack. Before these orders could be executed, the lead marine vessel suddenly halted. Its companions maintained position flanking it as a lone figure appeared on its forward deck. Even at this distance, Naruto could see the man was tall and imposing, dressed not in standard marine uniform but in a specialized tactical outfit with a distinctive white coat bearing no visible insignia. Attention, Straw Hat Pirates, the man's voice carried across the water with unnatural clarity. This is Commander Voss of World Government Special Operations Division 0. We have no quarrel with your crew today. Surrender the dimensional anomaly you're harboring, and you may proceed unmolested. Silence fell across the Sunny's deck as all eyes turned toward Naruto. Luffy stepped forward, his expression unnaturally serious. Naruto is my friend and my crew's guest. Nobody's surrendering anybody. The distant figure seemed to consider this response before raising some kind of communication device. Very well. Standard retrieval protocols are authorized. What happened next occurred with such speed that even Naruto's enhanced reflexes barely registered the sequence. The flanking vessels simultaneously fired harpoon-like projectiles that embedded themselves in the Sunny's hull. Rather than tethering lines as expected, they generated some kind of paralysis field that ashed across the deck in concentric waves. Most of the crew collapsed instantly, even Luffy, despite his rubber physiology that should have rendered him immune to such effects. Only Naruto, partially protected by Kurama's chakra, and Robin, who had created a network of arms to elevate herself above the deck's surface, remained conscious. Seastone-based technology, Robin identified through gritted teeth, clearly struggling against the field's effects even at her elevated position. But modified somehow, it shouldn't affect non-devil fruit users. Naruto formed a Rasengan, intending to destroy the nearest harpoon transmitter. When a new presence materialized directly behind him, he sensed the displacement of air a fraction of a second before impact, barely enough time to reinforce his body. With chakra as something struck him with catastrophic force, he skidded across the deck, splintering wood beneath him before crashing into the mast. Through blurred vision, he saw the attacker, Commander Voss himself. Somehow having traversed the distance between ships instantaneously, the man stood with military precision, observing Naruto with clinical detachment. Close up, his features were sharp and symmetrical, almost artificially perfect, with close-cropped silver hair and eyes of such pale blue they appeared almost colorless. Most disturbingly, faint spiral patterns seemed to glow beneath his skin when he moved, visible only to Naruto's enhanced perception. Fascinating, Voss stated, his tone eerily conversational. Your energy signature is completely unique in our records. Not devil fruit based at all, yet capable of manipulating fundamental forces. He tilted his head slightly. And you're not alone in there, are you? Two distinct patterns intertwined. Naruto rose, ignoring the pain radiating through his body. How could you possibly know that? A cold smile touched Voss's lips. Let's just say we've been monitoring dimensional boundaries for a very long time. The world government has extensive experience with visitors. Robin had managed to create enough distance from the paralysis field to regain mobility. She crossed her arms in her signature stance, prepared to attack. I wouldn't, Voss advised without looking in her direction. My men have specific countermeasures for each Straw Hat pirate, including you, demon child. This doesn't have to become unpleasant. Too late, Naruto growled, golden chakra beginning to manifest around his form. You attacked my friends. Voss observed the energy manifestation with obvious scientific interest. Remarkable. Direct manipulation without the constraints of devil fruit parameters. He pressed a device on his wrist. Subject demonstrates controlled external energy projection. Initiating suppression protocol UZUSHIO-7. The name struck Naruto like a physical blow. What did you just say? Instead of answering, Voss extracted a small cylinder from his coat. With a subtle flick, it extended into a staff inscribed with spiral patterns disturbingly similar to Uzumaki clan designs. The moment he channeled energy into it, Naruto felt his own chakra respond unpredictably, as though the weapon was ignited specifically to disrupt his particular energy signature. He knows about the Uzumaki, ***, Kurama growled. That's impossible unless, ***, unless they've encountered my clan before, Naruto finished, dodging Voss's first strike with the staff. The weapon passed within inches of his shoulder, and even that proximity caused his chakra to fluctuate painfully. Robin attacked from behind, multiple arms sprouting from Voss's back in an attempt to restrain him. With disturbing ease, the commander's body seemed to phase through the limbs, rendering her ability ineffective. Clutch techniques won't work on me, Ms. Nico, he commented mildly. My modifications were specifically designed to counter such abilities. Naruto created shadow clones that surrounded Voss in a coordinated attack pattern. The commander moved with inhuman precision, his staff striking each clone with perfect economy of motion. When the real Naruto attacked with a Rasengan, Voss simply sidestepped and brought his staff down across Naruto's extended arm. White-hot agony exploded through Naruto's chakra network. The Rasengan dissipated instantly as his arm went completely numb from shoulder to fingertips. Specialized seastone alloy. Combined with properties we extracted from certain artifacts, Voss explained, observing Naruto's reaction with scientific interest. Disrupts energy channels quite effectively, doesn't it? Despite the paralysis field still affecting most of the crew, Luffy had begun to move through sheer willpower. The rubber man dragged himself upright, one agonizing inch at a time. His expression locked in determined fury. Leave my friends alone. Each word emerged as a separate battle won against the incapacitating technology. Voss spared him a glance of mild surprise. Impressive resistance, straw hat. But futile. He turned back to Naruto. You're coming with us. The world government has questions about dimensional stability that you're uniquely positioned to answer. I don't think so, Naruto replied, his voice altered as Kurama's influence began manifesting more prominently. His whisker markings deepened, eyes shifting from blue to slitted crimson. You know about the Uzumaki. Which means you know what we're capable of. Genuine interest flickered across Voss's features. The transformation state. Excellent. He pressed another control on his wrist device. Full containment measures authorized. The marine vessels began generating a triangular energy field between them, creating a barrier that rose around the sunny like a translucent dome. Naruto could feel it constricting the natural energy flow, gradually isolating them from the outside world. That's a dimensional stabilization field, Robin realized, recognition and alarm evident in her voice. Similar to what's described in ancient texts about the three weapons. Very good, Ms. Nico, Voss acknowledged. Your archaeological knowledge remains impressive. Yes, this technology dates the current world government by several centuries. We've merely refined it. Naruto felt Kurama's power building within him, the fox's rage at their situation fueling a transformation that might soon become difficult to control. The paralysis field was weakening his ability to regulate the Nine Tails chakra flow. We need to break those transmitters, Kurama advised. But EFUL, that staff is designed to disrupt our connection. One solid hit could separate us. That possibility sent ice through Naruto's veins. After everything they'd been through together, the thought of losing Kurama was unacceptable. Robin seemed to sense his internal conflict. With strategic precision, she generated multiple arms across the deck that began systematically tearing at the embedded harpoon transmitters. Voss noticed immediately, but as he moved to stop her, Naruto intercepted him with renewed determination. Your fight is with me, the shinobi declared, channeling chakra diff. Errantly now, not into direct attack forms, but into enhancing his physical capabilities to compensate for the disruption field. Taijutsu would have to suffice where ninjutsu was compromised. Their clash became a blur of physical combat, Naruto adapting his fighting style to avoid the staff's disruptive touch while landing strikes whenever possible. Voss proved unnervingly difficult to hit, his bod. Why sometimes seemed to shift just slightly out of phase with reality itself, allowing attacks to pass through him without effect. Fascinating adaptation, the commander commented during a momentary separation. Your combat algorithms adjust in real time. Most subjects demonstrate predictable patterns even with enhanced abilities. I'm not a subject, Naruto growled, launching another attack sequence. Robin had succeeded in damaging one transmitter, weakening the paralysis field enough that other crew members had begun recovering. Zoro managed to draw his swords despite obvious discomfort, while Frankie's mechanical components fought against the neutralizing effects. Voss noticed the shifting battle conditions and frowned slightly, the first genuine expression of concern he'd shown. Extraction window narrowing. Implementing accelerated retrieval, he pressed a final control on his wrist device. The triangular field between the ships pulsed with increased intensity, and a focused beam of energy shot from the lead vessel directly toward Naruto. Time to go, Uzumaki, Voss stated, suddenly behind Naruto with blinding speed. His staff struck precisely at the base of Naruto's spear. Nay, a calculated blow targeting the chakra network's most vulnerable junction. Paralyzing pain exploded through Naruto's system as his connection to Kurama abruptly destabilized. He felt the fox's presence fragmenting. Their carefully balanced chakra flow disrupted at its foundation. Naruto. Kurama's voice seemed distant, distorted. Resist the separation. Focus on the seal. Through sheer willpower, Naruto concentrated on the binding that connected them, refusing to allow it to dissolve despite the specialized attack. The effort cost him combat awareness, however, and Voss seized the opportunity to restrain him physically. What saved him was completely unexpected. A massive serpentine dragon composed entirely of water erupted from the ocean alongside the Sunny. It struck Voss with devastating force, separating him from Naruto and slamming him against the ship's railing. "I believe that's quite enough," came a new voice, calm and measured despite the chaos. A woman stood, balanced perfectly atop the dragon's head as it materialized fully beside the ship. Tall and athletically built with short cyan-colored hair and piercing eyes, she wore an outfit that combined elements of traditional warrior garb with distinctly naval components. Most strikingly, a pair of horns protruded from her forehead, giving her an almost Oni-like appearance. "Yamato," Voss acknowledged, gaining his composure with unnatural speed. "This doesn't concern the beast pirates. I'm not here representing Kaido," she replied evenly, the water dragon maintaining its threatening posture. Consider this a personal interest in unusual energy manifestations. My captain would be quite interested to learn the world government has been hiding dimension-crossing technology. The standoff vibrated with tension as more straw hats recovered from the paralysis field. Luffy had finally regained enough mobility to assume a fighting stance, while Zoro positioned himself strategically between the marine vessels and his crewmates. Voss assessed the deteriorating tactical situation with cold calculation. Retrieval parameters exceeded. Shifting to observation protocol, he addressed Naruto directly. "This isn't over. Dimensional anomaly. The stability of this world requires your containment." Before anyone could react, he vanished, not with the blur of extreme speed, but with the distinctive ripple of space that suggested actual teleportation. Moments later, the marine vessels began retreating, their unusual barrier dissolving as they increased distance. The woman called Yamato aloud, her water dragon to collapse back into the sea, then leapt gracefully onto the Sunny's deck. She surveyed the damaged ship and recovering crew with analytical precision. "You've managed to attract significant attention," she observed, gaze settling on Naruto. "The Special Operations Division doesn't deploy Commander Voss unless they consider something an existential threat." Robin approached cautiously, her stance indicating she recognized this newcomer but didn't necessarily trust her. Kaido's lieutenant wouldn't normally intervene against world government operations. "What's your actual interest here, Yamato?" The horned woman smiled slightly. "Can't a girl investigate mysterious energy pulses that match ancient prophecies without ulterior motives?" "No," Robin replied flatly. Yamato laughed, the sound surprisingly warm given her imposing appearance. "Fair enough." Her expression became more serious as she studied Naruto. "You're the dimensional breach they're hunting, aren't you? The one who fell through the spiral door." The specific terminology made Naruto tense. "How do you know about that?" Instead of answering directly, Yamato extended her hand, palm up. A small blue flame appeared above it, not produced by any visible mechanism, but manifesting directly from her skin. "Because I've been waiting for you," she said simply. "Or someone like you, for a very long time." Robin stepped between them, protective instincts overriding scholarly curiosity. Yamato is a beast pirate commander with the fish fruit model, Azure Dragon. One of Kaido's most trusted officers. Whatever she wants, it serves Kaido's interests ultimately. "Not necessarily," Yamato countered, extinguishing the flame with a casual gesture. "My relationship with my father is complicated." "Father?" Naruto questioned. "Kaido of the Beasts," she clarified. "Emperor of the Sea, world's strongest creature, and my thoroughly disappointing parental figure." The blunt admission momentarily silenced everyone. Luffy, having finally recovered completely, approached with characteristic directness. "So you're not here to fight us?" he asked, head tilted curiously. "Not today," Yamato confirmed. "I came because I detected an energy signature I've spent decades searching for. The kind described in certain texts my father keeps locked away." Her gaze returned to Naruto. "Texts that speak of visitors who brought the original power to our world. Visitors with the spiral in their blood." The specific knowledge she possessed couldn't be coincidental. Naruto exchanged glances with Robin, whose scholarly mind was clearly racing with implications. "How do you know about the spiral blood?" Naruto asked carefully. Yamato's expression became unreadable. Because I carry a diluted version of it myself. Most of the strongest devil fruit users do, though they don't realize it. The world government calls it lineage factor compatibility, but it's really a genetic echo of the original visitors. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a birthmark on her forearm, a faint but unmistakable spiral pattern. It manifests differently in each carrier, she continued. But those of us with the strongest expression can sense others. When you arrived in this world, every carrier with sufficient sensitivity felt it. Like a bell ringing across dimensions. Robin's scientific curiosity overcame her caution. Are you suggesting devil fruit compatibility is genetically linked to descendants of interdimensional travelers? Not suggesting. Stating. Yamato crossed her arms. It's YTH. E-world government monitors bloodlines so carefully. Why certain families demonstrate higher compatibility across generations. The strongest devil fruit users all trace back to the original spiral-blooded clans. Diluted through centuries of intermarriage. The implications staggered Naruto. If she was right, his arrival hadn't been random at all. The dimensional transfer had sought out a world his bloodline already existed in some form. Voss knew about Uzushio, he recalled suddenly. He used that exact term for his suppression protocol. Yamato's eyes widened fractionally. Uzushio, as in the island of whirlpools. In my world, it was the ancestral home of the Uzumaki clan, Naruto explained. My mother's people, they were known for sealing techniques and extraordinary life force. The island of whirlpools exists here too, Robin interjected, academic excitement breaking through her usual reserve. It's mentioned in historical texts as the birthplace of certain lost arts. The world government ordered it completely destroyed during the Great Cleansing, more thoroughly than even Ohara. Because it was the site of the original spiral door, Yamato finished. Or so the hidden texts claim. The place where the visitors first entered our world and planted what became the first devil fruit trees. As the conversation progressed, the rest of the Straw Hat crew had gathered around, listening with varying degrees of comprehension. Chopper tended to injuries caused during the brief but intense conflict, while Frankie assessed damage to the ship's systems. Sanji had disappeared into the kitchen, returning with restorative food and drinks that he distributed with uncharacteristic solemnity. So the world government has been hunting people with this spiral blood for centuries? Luffy asked, displaying surprising engagement with the historical complexity. Hunting, studying, and in some cases, breeding, Yamato confirmed grimly. The celestial dragon's obsession ith bloodline purity isn't just arrogance, it's about maintaining certain genetic traits, including spiral blood compatibility. The revelation cast the world's power structures in a disturbing new light. Robin had gone very still, her brilliant mind clearly connecting previously unrelated historical fragments into a coherent whole. The ancient weapons, she murmured. Their connection to specific bloodlines. The government's obsession with certain families. Her gaze met Naruto's. Your arrival may have accidentally exposed a conspiracy spanning the entire Void Century. Not accidentally, Yamato corrected. The texts I've studied contain prophecies about the return of the pure spiral. The one who would unlock the original powers again. She studied Naruto with unnerving intensity. They called this figure the bridge between worlds. Naruto felt the weight of unwanted destiny settling across his shoulders once again. He'd spent his entire life fighting against predetermined paths, being the Jinchuriki, the child of prophecy, the reincarnation of Asura. Now, in an entirely different dimension, he found himself facing yet another ancient prediction. I don't believe in destiny, he stated firmly. I make my own path. Unexpectedly, Yamato smiled. That's exactly what the prophecy said you'd say. Before Naruto could form a suitably irritated response, Nami interrupted. Ed with the pragmatism that often grounded the Straw Hat's more esoteric adventures. Fascinating ancient conspiracies aside, we have immediate problems. That attack damaged our navigation systems, Air off course for Robin's archaeological site, and now we apparently have both world government special forces and beast pirates interested in our passenger. Just the world government, Yamato clarified. I haven't reported anything to my father, nor do I intend to. Her expression became complicated. My presence here is unofficial. You're defying Kaido? Robin asked, skepticism evident. Let's call it pursuing independent research. Yamato glanced toward the horizon where the marine vessels had disappeared. Voss will return with greater resources once he reports finding a confirmed dimensional crosser. We should be elsewhere when that happens. Luffy questioned, his simple query containing multiple layers of implication. Yamato met his gaze directly. I've spent 20 years studying the spiral bloodline and its connection to the original powers. If you're heading to an archaeological site that might contain relevant information, my expertise could prove useful. She paused. Consider it a temporary alliance of mutual interest. Robin remained visibly suspicious, but Naruto found himself intrigued by this strange woman with her claimed connection to his bloodline. Her knowledge seemed genuine, and her opposition to Voss had been timely and effective. I don't trust easily, he said, addressing Yamato directly. But I respect strength used to protect others. Your intervention saved my friends from further harm. Don't mistake opportunism for altruism, she replied, though something in her expression suggested the distinction wasn't entirely clear-cut. I've spent too long searching for answers to let Voss lock them away in some government facility. Luffy, with the direct decision-making that characterized his leadership style, clapped his hands together decisively. She stays. Anyone who fights that weird teleporting guy is okay with me. Captain, Robin began cautiously, the beast pirates are. I know who they are, Luffy interrupted with unusual seriousness. But she helped us, and she knows stuff about Naruto's spiral blood. Besides, he grinned suddenly, reverting to his more typical expression, her horns are cool. Yamato blinked, clearly not accustomed to being evaluated on the coolness of her horns rather than her tactical value or fighting prowess. If she tries anything suspicious, I'll personally throw her overboard, Zoro added casually. Resheathing his swords with practiced precision. Agreed, Sanji surprisingly concurred. Beautiful though she may be, the safety of our crew comes first. He bowed gallantly toward Yamato. No offense intended, my horned lily, ... None taken, she replied after a moment's bewilderment. With that peculiar mixture of suspicion and acceptance that characterized the Straw Hats' approach to temporary allies. Yamato was incorporated into their immediate plans. Nami recalculated their course accounting for the delay caused by the marine attack, while Frankie began repairs to the damaged sections of the ship. As activity settled into purposeful work, Naruto found a moment to check on Kurama. The Nine Tails had been unusually quiet since Voss's attack disrupted their chakra connection. You okay in there? He asked internally. Recovering, ***, came the reply, Kurama's voice sounding strained. That weapon was specifically designed to target our bond. It knew exactly where to strike. How is that possible? No one in this world should understand the specifics of Jinchuriki sealing. Unless they've studied it before, ***, Kurama growled. That man's chakra felt familiar somehow, distorted, but with recognizable elements. The conversation paused as Robin approached, carrying several ancient texts she'd retrieved from her private collection. Her expression suggested she'd made connections that troubled her deeply. I've been cross-referencing what we know with historical fragments, she began without preamble. The timing of certain events during the Void Century corresponds with major chakra disruptions you've described from your world's history. What kind of disruptions? Naruto asked. The rise of the Sage of Six Paths that you mentioned. It appears to align precisely with the beginning of the Void Century here. And the fall of Uzushio in your world correlates with the Great Cleansing in ours. The implications were staggering. You think the worlds are connected. That events in one dimension affect the other. I think they're more than connected, Robin replied gravely. I think they're counterbalanced. When one achieves stability, the other experiences upheaval. It's as though they're two halves of a greater whole, separated but still influencing each other across dimensional boundaries. Yamato joined them, having apparently overheard. The hidden texts speak of the sundering, when one world became two. Before that, both chakra and devil fruits supposedly existed in the same reality. That's hard to imagine, Naruto admitted. Our worlds operate on completely different principles. Do they? Robin questioned. Or have they simply developed specialized systems from the same fundamental energy? Your chakra combines physical and spiritual energy. Devil fruits transform the consumer's lineage factor, their fundamental biological blueprint. Both affect reality through what appears to be rent mechanisms but achieve similar outcomes. The academic discussion might have continued indefinitely if not for Usopp's shout from the crow's nest. Island ahead. And it's glowing. All three moved to the railing, peering toward the horizon where a small landmass had indeed appeared. Even at this distance, they could see pulsing lights emanating from what appeared to be ancient structures scattered across its surface. That's not our destination, Robin noted with concern. We're nowhere near the coordinates for the archaeological site. No, Yamato agreed, her expression darkening. That's Spiral Island, one of Kaido's restricted territories. Restricted why? Naruto asked, though he suspected the answer. Because it contains one of the few surviving devil fruit trees, she replied softly. And it only bears fruit once every 50 years. The timing couldn't be coincidental. Their course, Voss's attack, Yamato's appearance, everything seemed to be converging around this unexpected destination. How did we end up here? Robin wondered aloud. The navigational calculations shouldn't have brought us anywhere near this location. Yamato studied the glowing island with troubled focus. The trees are said to respond to those with the spiral blood, particularly those with strong manifestations. Her gaze shifted to Naruto. Like someone who carries the undiluted bloodline. You're saying the tree called us here? Naruto asked skeptically. I'm saying nothing in this situation is random, Yamato clarified. Your arrival, Voss's knowledge, this convergence, LL points to something set in motion centuries ago. The Sunny continued its approach to the mysterious island, drawn by currents that seemed to flow contrary to natural patterns. As they drew closer, the structures became more distinct. Ancient ruins similar to those Robin had been studying, but these remained intact and actively functioning, their surfaces inscribed with glowing spiral patterns that pulsed in rhythmic sequence. Those aren't ruins, Robin realized with academic wonder. They're machines, technological artifacts from the Void Century. At the island's center, visible now as they approached its natural harbor, stood a massive tree unlike any Naruto had seen before. Its trunk twisted in a perfect spiral pattern, while branches extended in mathematically precise formations. Most remarkably, fruits hung from those branches, spherical objects with distinctive swirling patterns covering their surfaces. Devil fruits, Naruto murmured, recognition immediate despite never having seen one before. Yes, but more than that, Yamato replied quietly. If the texts are correct, that's one of the original trees. Planted directly by the first visitors from your world. The Nny entered the harbor as though guided by invisible hands, water currents adjusting to bring them precisely to an ancient dock that appeared recently used despite its clearly ancient construction. We should proceed with extreme caution, Robin advised as they prepared to disembark. Functional Void Century technology is unprecedented. The world government destroys such artifacts on sight. Yet they've left this island intact. Yamato noted with suspicion, which suggests they either don't know about it, or they're using it for something, Naruto finished grimly. Luffy, demonstrating his characteristic disregard for methodical approaches, had already leapt onto the dock and started marching toward the glowing structures with unrestrained curiosity. Nami shouted after him in exasperation, while Zoro and Sanji exchanged resigned glances before following their impulsive captain. Some things never change, regardless of dimensional boundaries, Naruto observed with a hint of amusement. Leaders who charge ahead while their advisors scramble to keep up. Robin's lips curved in a small smile. Luffy operates on instinct rather than calculation. Surprisingly often, those instincts prove correct. Naruto, Robin, and Yamato disembarked together, following the enthusiastic captain at a more measured pace. The moment Naruto's feet touched the island's soil, he felt a distinct resonance. The ground itself seemed to respond to his presence, subtle vibrations pulsing outward from each footstep like ripples in water. The island recognizes you, Yamato observed, watching the phenomenon with fascination. Just as the texts described, the ruins, or machines, as Robin had identified them, began glowing more intensely as they approached. Symbols etched into their surfaces shifted and realigned, responding to their presence with apparent intelligence. These are monitoring systems, Robin realized, examining the changing patterns. They're actively scanning us. For what? Naruto asked. His answer came in unexpected form. The nearest structure suddenly projected a beam of light that swept over him from head to toe. Where it touched, His skin tingled with energy recognition, as though the light itself was sampling his chakra signature. When the scan completed, the structure emitted a series of tones in a distinctive pattern. Other ruins responded with corresponding sequences, creating a harmonic conversation that spread across the entire island. The massive devil fruit tree at the center began glowing with internal light that pulsed in rhythm with the tonal exchange. "It's confirming your identity," Yamato explained, her expression a mixture of awe and validation. "The systems recognize your bloodline as administrative-level access." "Access to what?" Naruto questioned, increasingly uneasy with the island's automated response to his presence. Before anyone could theorize further, the ground before them split open with geometric precision. What appeared to be stone slabs reconfigured themselves into a staircase leading underground, illuminated by the same glowing symbols that adorned the external structures. "Okay, that's just showing off," Usopp commented nervously from behind them, having caught up with the advance group along with the remaining crew members. Robin approached the opening with scholarly excitement barely contained beneath her composed exterior. "These aren't ruins or even machines in the conventional sense. They're biological technology, structures grown rather than built, programmed through methods lost to modern science." "Grown," Naruto repeated, examining the perfectly symmetrical opening with new appreciation. "Like Yamato's would-release abilities." "Similar conceptually, but far more advanced," Robin confirmed. "The ancient kingdom reportedly merged biological processes with technological applications at a level we can barely comprehend today." Luffy, predictably, had already started descending newly revealed stairs with enthusiastic disregard for potential dangers. "Come on, Mystery Basement is waiting." The underground chamber that awaited them defied easy description. What initially appeared to be a cavern revealed itself as an enormous spherical space, its walls composed of the same living material as the surface structures but configured in concentric rings that slowly rotated in alternating directions. At the chamber's center floated a miniature version of the devil fruit tree above, suspended in midair without visible support, its roots extending into nothingness. Most remarkably, the entire chamber was illuminated by what appeared to be condensed sunlight, despite being deep underground. The light source was unclear, seemingly emanating from the very walls themselves. "It's a laboratory," Robin breathed, her academic excitement palpable as she moved through the space. "No, more than that, it's a creation chamber." The walls were covered in dense script that Robin immediately began examining, her fingers tracing symbols with practiced precision. "This is the purest form of the ancient language I've ever encountered. Not fragmentary or damaged like poneglyphs." Yamato approached the floating miniature tree with reverent caution. According to the texts, these growth chambers were where the original visitors experimented with combining their blood-based powers with this world's natural energy. Creating devil fruits, Naruto surmised, finding himself drawn to the suspended tree. As he approached, the tiny fruits adorning its branches began glowing more intensely. Resonating with his proximity. "Not just creating them," Robin corrected, having deciphered a significant portion of the wall text. "Designing them." Each fruit was specifically engineered to manifest a particular aspect of the original visitor's abilities. The implications were staggering. "You're saying devil fruits are artificially created attempts to replicate chakra-based techniques?" "Precisely," Robin confirmed, "but limited to single applications rather than the comprehensive system you describe from your world. Each fruit captures one specific ability rather than the flexible chakra manipulation you demonstrate." As they explored the chamber, the Straw Hat crew spread out with varying degrees of caution and excitement. Chopper was particularly fascinated by what appeared to be medical documentation, while Frankie examined the chamber's structural elements with professional appreciation. Naruto found himself increasingly drawn to the floating tree. Something it called to him on a level beyond conscious thought, a resonance in his blood that grew stronger with proximity. "Be careful, Kit, Kurama warned. "That plant is responding to your Uzumaki chakra in ways I don't understand." When Naruto was within arm's reach of the miniature tree, one of its fruits detached itself and floated toward him. Unlike the others, this particular fruit had distinctive red swirls against golden skin, colors that matched the chakra manifestation he sometimes displayed. "That's unprecedented," Yamato observed with quiet intensity. "The fruits never detach voluntarily. Don't touch it, Robin advised urgently. If you consume a devil fruit, it could interfere with your existing abilities in unpredictable ways. The fruit continued hovering before Naruto, rotating slowly as though presenting itself for inspection. He made no move to take it, but studied it with cautious fascination. I think it's responding to my blood specifically, he theorized. Like it recognizes the original source material. Robin had returned to translating the wall inscriptions, her multiple hands moving across different sections simultaneously to piece together the fragmented information. According to this, she reported, the original visitors, apparently called the Uzushio clan in these records, discovered their blood could be used to grow special trees when combined with this world's unique energy. The fruits born from these trees contained stable manifestations of their abilities, which could then be transferred to the native population. Technology transfer through biological means. Yamato simplified, giving specific powers to individuals without requiring the training system from your world. But why? Naruto questioned. Why go to such lengths to create these fruits? Robin continued reading, her expression becoming increasingly troubled. It seems they were preparing for something. A coming conflict that would require distributed power among trusted allies. She paused at a particular section. They refer repeatedly to the hunger between worlds and the need to create guardians of reality before it fully awakened. The academic discovery was interrupted by a more immediate concern. The chamber had begun vibrating subtly, and the rotating wall segments accelerated their movement. Something's happening, Frankie observed unnecessarily, backing toward the entrance. The whole system is powering up. The floating fruit before Naruto pulsed with increasing brightness, its glow expanding to illuminate his features. Without warning, it burst into particles of golden light that swirled around him before seemingly absorbing into his skin. Pain lanced through his system, not the destructive agony of injury, but the transformative discomfort of rapid cellular change. He felt his chakra network responding, reconfiguring to accommodate new pathways that formed spontaneously throughout his body. Naruto. Robin moved toward him with concern. But Yamato held her back. Wait, the horned woman advised. This is part of the recognition protocol. The fruit didn't enter him as consumption, it's recognizing him as a creator rather than a user. The process lasted less than 30 seconds, though it felt significantly longer to Naruto. When it completed, he remained outwardly unchanged, but internally he could sense new connections forming between his chakra system and this world's natural energy. I can feel them, he said with wonder. All the devil fruits. They're extensions of chakra techniques, modified and stabilized through. I don't even have words for the process. Before he could elaborate, the chamber's entrance abruptly sealed itself. Secondary doors that had previously been invisible in the curved walls similarly closed, leaving them completely enclosed in the spherical space. That's not good, Usopp observed with characteristic understatement. A new projection appeared in the chamber's center, replacing the floating tree with what appeared to be a three-dimensional map of the world, continents configured differently than either Naruto's home dimension or the current geography of this world. That's the ancient world, Robin identified immediately. Before the cataclysm that created the current continental arrangement, the projection zoomed in on a particular island, spiral-shaped ND marked with the same symbol that adorned Naruto's palm. Text appeared beside it in the ancient language, Uzushiogakure. Robin translated with surprise. The village hidden in the whirlpools. It existed in this world too, exactly as you described from your dimension. The projection shifted again, displaying what appeared to be a massive door constructed of pure energy, its surface inscribed with complex sealing formulas that Naruto recognized as advanced Uzumaki techniques. The spiral door, Yamato breathed. The original connection between worlds. Before they could examine it further, the chamber's vibrations intensified dramatically. Warning symbols flashed across the walls, and the projection shifted to display a different location, this island, with multiple vessels approaching from different directions. We've got company, Zoro observed grimly. Multiple ships, at least 3 different flags. The projection confirmed his assessment, identifying approaching forces with glowing indicators. World government vessels including Voss's specialized craft, beast pirate ships presumably responding to the island's activation, and a third group marked with a symbol none of them recognized. The chamber's automated defenses are activating, Robin reported, interpreting the rapidly changing wall text. It's identified all approaching forces as hostile to its primary directive. Which is what, exactly? Nami asked with justifiable concern. Protection of the Spiral Legacy, Robin translated from a prominently displayed section. Preservation of the connection between N worlds until the return of the pure blood. All eyes turned to Naruto, who was experiencing the increasingly familiar sensation of finding himself at the center of ancient prophecies and predetermined destinies. For the record, he stated with forced lightness, I didn't ask for any of this. The projection shifted again, displaying what appeared to be tactical options, defensive measures the chamber could implement against the approaching forces. The symbols were intuitive enough that even without reading the ancient language, the general intent was clear. It's asking for authorization to activate island-wide defenses. Robin explained unnecessarily, and it's addressing the request specifically to you, Naruto. The absurdity of being asked to authorize ancient technological defenses in a dimension not his own against people he barely understood wasn't lost on the shinobi. Yet something about the situation resonated with responsibilities he'd shouldered before. What kind of defenses are we talking about? He asked cautiously. Robin consulted the detailed descriptions with growing concern. Energy-based weapons, directed climate manipulation, localized dimensional thinning. These capabilities exceed anything in the modern world. Activating them could have catastrophic consequences beyond just defending the island. Then we need a different approach, Naruto decided. Can you ask it for information instead? Access to historical records about how the Uzumaki came here originally, and how I might return to my dimension. Robin translated his request into the ancient language, carefully pronouncing syllables that hadn't been spoken aloud in centuries. The chamber responded immediately, the projection shifting to display historical archives organized in chronological sequence. It worked, she confirmed with academic excitement. Full historical access granted to Blood Administrator Uzumaki. The honorific made Naruto wince slightly, but he focused on the practical opportunity. Can we download this information somehow? We need to evacuate before those ships arrive. Yamato approached the central projection, studying its control interfaces with surprisingly familiar ease. There should be a data transfer protocol here. She manipulated symbols that responded to her touch, configuring what appeared to be an extraction sequence. You seem very familiar with ancient technology, Robin observed with renewed suspicion. The beast pirates have recovered fragments over the years, Yamato explained without elaboration. Knowledge is power, and Kaido accumulates both. The chamber produced a small crystalline object that rose from a previously invisible compartment in the floor. About the size of Naruto's palm, it glowed with internal GHT as data visibly flowed into it from the projection. That's a data storage device, Naruto questioned, unfamiliar with the technology despite its apparent biological components. Information crystal, Robin identified with scholarly reverence. They're mentioned in ancient texts but thought to have been completely destroyed during the Great Cleansing. One such crystal could contain more knowledge than all modern libraries combined. The data transfer completed with a subtle chime. Yamato carefully retrieved the crystal, examining it before offering it to Robin. You're the scholar, she acknowledged. This belongs with someone who understands its significance. The gesture seemed to ease some of Robin's suspicion. She accepted the crystal with evident appreciation for its historical value. Securing it carefully in a protected container she extracted from her equipment. We still need an exit strategy, Zoro reminded them pragmatically. Those ships will be here within the hour. The chamber, apparently monitoring their conversation, displayed a new projection, this one showing underwater tunnels extending from their location to different points around the island, including G1 that led directly to a concealed cove on the opposite shore from the approaching vessels. Escape routes, Nami identified with relief. But the Sunny is docked on the wrong side. Sunny stays put, Luffy decided with unexpected strategic insight. They'll focus on the ship while we circle around behind them. For once, his impulsive plan actually demonstrated sound tactical thinking. Straw Hat Captain grinned at their surprised expressions. What? I know stuff sometimes. The chamber obligingly opened one of the previously sealed doorways, revealing a tunnel illuminated with same bioluminescent material as the main room. The passage appeared large enough to accommodate their entire group, including Gamakichi, who had remained aboard the Sunny but could be summoned once they reached the exit point. What about the defensive systems? Naruto asked Robin. Will they activate automatically when those ships arrive? The text suggests they require direct authorization. From someone with administrative blood access, she replied. Without your command, they should remain dormant. This provided small comfort as they prepared to evacuate through the tunnel system. Naruto couldn't help feeling they were abandoning something important, knowledge and capabilities that might be lost forever if the approaching forces discovered this chamber. As though sensing his concern, the chamber produced one final item before they departed. A small disc, similar in appearance to the information crystal but smaller and inscribed with the Uzumaki spiral, emerged from the same compartment. What's this? Naruto asked as it floated directly to him. Robin examined the accompanying text that appeared in the projection. It says, "Recall key," and "Blood bond." Some kind of personal access device, I think. When Naruto touched the disc, it adhered to his palm momentarily before seeming to dissolve into his skin, leaving another spiral mark that faded from visibility but remained as a subtle warmth he could still feel. It's linked itself to your chakra network, Kurama observed with concern. Similar to a summoning contract, but more integrated. There was no time to investigate further as proximity alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. The approaching vessels had accelerated, apparently detecting the island's activation. Time to go, Luffy announced, already heading into the tunnel with characteristic enthusiasm despite the tense situation. Their journey through the underground passage took approximately 20 minutes, the biological technology guiding them with subtle light cues at junctions. When they finally emerged, they found themselves in exactly the location promised, a concealed cove on the island's far side, sheltered from by overhanging vegetation and natural rock formations. From their elevated position, they could see the approaching ships now clearly visible on the horizon. The world government contingent had grown to 5 vessels, including what appeared to be a marine science ship equipped with specialized equipment. The Beast Pirate Force consisted of 3 ships flying Kaido's flag, while the unidentified third group had a single vessel distinguished by its unusual construction. It appeared almost crystalline, with surfaces that reflected sunlight in prismatic patterns. That's not a known pirate crew or government faction, Robin observed with concern. The design resembles descriptions of vessels used by the ancient kingdom, but that's impossible unless they've maintained their technology in secret for centuries. Yamato finished. There are legends about survivors who went into hiding rather than surrender to the 20 kings. Naruto processed this information while assessing their tactical situation. We need to create a distraction that draws attention away from the underground chamber while we circle back to the Sunny. Leave that to me, Luffy grinned, cracking his knuckles with anticipation. Breaking stuff to create distractions is my specialty. Actually, Yamato interjected, I might have a better option. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a small device embedded in her forearm, similar in design to the ancient technology they'd encountered below but miniaturized. This communicator can transmit false devil fruit energy signatures. If I activate it at maximum range, it should draw the beast pirates to the wrong location. The revelation that she carried ancient technology in her body raised numerous questions, but practicality demanded they focus on immediate concerns. What about the other groups? Zoro asked. The world government ships will follow Voss's lead, Robin reasoned. If we can determine his priority target, either Naruto or the chamber itself, we can predict his movements. And the mystery ship? Usopp questioned nervously. Unknown variable, Nami admitted. But they're outnumbered by the other factions, so they'll lickle. Why observe rather than directly engage until they understand the situation better? With limited options and time running short, they developed a hasty plan. Yamato would activate her transmitter from the island's northern point, drawing beast pirate attention away from both the Sunny and the underground chamber. Meanwhile, Robin would use her knowledge of world government protocols to predict Voss's likely approach vector, allowing them to avoid his forces while circling back to their ship. As they prepared to separate, Naruto pulled Robin and Yamato aside. The information crystal is priority 1. Whatever happens, that knowledge needs to survive. Agreed, Robin nodded, patting the secure container where she'd stored the precious artifact. This could revolutionize our understanding of the Void Century, and potentially help you find a way home, Yamato added, her expression revealing genuine concern despite her earlier claims of mere opportunistic interest. The three shared a moment of unspoken connection, united by their involvement with knowledge that transcended dimensional boundaries. Whatever their individual motivations, they had become unlikely allies in preserving truths that powerful forces sought to suppress. Be careful, Naruto told them both. Voss isn't a conventional opponent. His abilities seem specifically designed to counter unusual energy patterns. Neither am I conventional, Yamato replied with confident determination, her eyes briefly glowing with internal power. The Azure Dragon has faced worse threats. And I've spent my entire life evading world government hunters, Robin added with grim experience. Today will be no different. As they prepared to implement their plan, Naruto felt the subtle warmth of the absorbed recall key pulsing in his palm. Whatever connection it had established with the ancient systems, he sensed it would prove significant in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. The worlds are converging around you, Kurama observed internally. The question is, are you being drawn home, or deeper into this reality's mysteries? Naruto had no answer as they split into tactical groups and began their evasion strategy. But one thing remained certain. The Uzumaki spiral that had defined his bloodline had now connected him to secrets spanning dimensions, and the ripples of that connection were only beginning to spread across both worlds. The ancient chamber deep below continued its silent operations, awaiting commands from the returned blood administrator who carried the legacy of worlds in his veins, A.L. Eager see that powerful forces would kill to control, and others would die to protect. Chapter 2 End Chapter 3, Bloodlines Awakened. Moonlight cast silver ribbons across the Thousand Sunny's deck as it sliced through calm waters. The ship's hasty departure from Spiral Island now 3 days behind them. The escape had been narrower than anyone would comfortably admit, Voss's forces closing in from one direction, Kaido's scouts from another. While the mysterious crystalline vessel had maintained distant observation throughout the chaos. Only Yamato's diversionary tactic and Luffy's unpredictable MBAT style had created enough confusion for their extraction. Naruto sat cross-legged on the ship's figurehead, a position normally reserved exclusively for the captain but granted to him tonight by Luffy's uncharacteristic recognition of a kindred spirit needing solitude. His eyes remained closed, focus turned inward as he explored the strange new pathways forming throughout his chakra network, lean connections that hadn't existed before his encounter with the ancient technology. The changes are accelerating, Kurama observed, his presence a familiar anchor amid unfamiliar transformations. Your Uzumaki vitality is adapting the foreign elements rather than rejecting them. It feels like when we first synchronized our chakra, Naruto replied internally. But instead of connecting with another being, I'm connecting with this world's fundamental energy. He extended his awareness outward, sensing the distinctive patterns of each crew member aboard the vessel. Luffy's energy, signature pulsed with rubber-like elasticity, Zoro's flowed with disciplined precision, Robin's branched in multiple directions simultaneously, each devil fruit user manifesting a unique energy pattern. And that Naruto could now perceive with increasing clarity. Most intriguing was Yamato, whose Azure Dragon energy contained subtle spiraling elements remarkably similar to his own chakra structure, confirmation of her claimed connection to the diluted Uzumaki bloodline. A soft footfall behind him interrupted his meditation. Robin approached with calculated silence that would have gone unnoticed by anyone without his sensory capabilities. Your perception range has extended again, she observed, not a question but a conclusion drawn from watching him track movements throughout the ship without opening his eyes. Naruto smiled, turning to face the archaeologist. 30% increase since yesterday. I can sense distinctive energy signatures nearly a mile out now. Robin settled beside him with practiced grace, producing the leather-bound journal where she'd been documenting his evolving abilities with scientific precision. Her methodical approach to understanding dimensional NCES had proven invaluable in helping Naruto navigate his changing connection to this world's energy system. The accelerated adaptation suggests the ancient chamber's activation wasn't merely recognition, she theorized. Making careful notes, it initiated some pre-programmed process within your genetic structure. That's not entirely comfortable to think about, Naruto admitted. I've had enough of predetermined destinies and ancient prophecies to last several lifetimes. Robin's expression softened fractionally, a subtle change most would miss, but significant from someone who maintained such careful control over her emotional presentation. Destiny and agency aren't necessarily opposing forces, she offered, her tone shifting from scientific to philosophical. Sometimes understood. The paths laid before us simply provides more informed choice. Speaking from experience, Naruto asked gently. The question hung between them, touching on unspoken aspects of Robin's past that she rarely discussed. After a moment's consideration, she nodded once, a concession of personal perspective rather than just scholarly observation. The prophecies that shaped my life were ultimately fulfilled through choices, mine and others. The prediction that I would destroy the world proved true, but not in the way my pursuers feared. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Instead, I might help destroy their version of the world by revealing truths they've buried. This glimpse beneath her carefully maintained exterior reminded Naruto why he'd felt immediate kinship with the archaeologist. Behind her composed facade lay a soul that understood isolation, persecution for inherited traits, and the burden of carrying knowledge others feared. Their moment of connection was interrupted by an alarming sensation that prickled across Naruto's newly enhanced awareness. He stood abruptly, eyes scanning the horizon with focused intensity. Something's approaching. Fast. His voice dropped, to the serious register that emerged when threats presented themselves. Single vessel, but the energy signature is unusual. Concentrated. Purposeful. Robin followed his gaze, seeing nothing but open ocean in the moonlight. Government. Pirates. Neither. Something different. Naruto closed his eyes, concentrating on the approaching presence. Focused determination, but not hostile exactly. More. Investigating. Within minutes, Nami had confirmed the approach via her meteorological instruments, detecting subtle atmospheric changes that preceded an unknown vessel. The straw hats assembled on deck with practiced readiness that balanced caution with curiosity, this crew having long ago learned that not every encounter warranted immediate combat. The approaching craft materialized from the darkness with surprising stealth, a sleek vessel designed for speed rather than confrontation, its distinctive figurehead carved in the shape of a dragon with outstretched wings. Most notably, it flew no flag at all, neither pirate nor government nor national identification. Revolutionary Army, Robin identified quietly. Special Operations Vessel, they rarely engage directly with other factions. Luffy bounced on his heels with characteristic excitement rather than concern. Dad's people, maybe they've got cool stories about him. Zoro positioned himself strategically near the captain, hand resting casually on his white sword's hilt. They're approaching with purpose. Someone aboard is watching us specifically. Through his enhanced perception, Naruto could indeed sense focus. Observation from the vessel, a single consciousness directing particular attention toward their ship with analytical precision rather than hostile intent. One operative, he confirmed. Female. Aimed fighter but not currently combat ready. She's curious about something specific. The revolutionary vessel maintained respectful distance while signaling communication intent through a pattern of lantern flashes. Nami interpreted the standard maritime code with practiced ease. They're requesting parley. One representative to board for discussion. She glanced toward Luffy for decision. Standard neutral encounter protocols. The captain nodded with uncharacteristic seriousness. Let them come, but be ready for anything. When the revolutionaries' small boat reached the sunny, glay figure ascended the rope ladder with athletic grace. The woman who stepped onto their deck moved with the balanced precision of a trained martial artist, petite but powerful, dressed in practical attire optimized for both combat and diplomatic flexibility. Most distinctively, she bore a sun-shaped brand on her back visible when her short jacket shifted, the mark of former slavery that she made no attempt to conceal. Koala, Luffy exclaimed with unexpected recognition. Sabo's friend. The woman smiled, a warm expression that transformed her serious features into something approaching playfulness. Though her eyes maintained analytical awareness of her surroundings. Captain Straw Hat, she acknowledged with a respectful nod that contained subtle fondness. It's been a while. Her gaze shifted methodically across the assembled crew, cataloging changes since their last encounter. before settling on Naruto with unmistakable interest. And you must be the dimensional anomaly we've been hearing whispers about. The directness of her identification surprised everyone except Robin, who merely raised an eyebrow in scholarly interest. The Revolutionary Army has intelligence on interdimensional travelers. The archaeologist questioned with professional curiosity rather than alarm. We have intelligence on anything that disrupts world government operations, Koala replied with practical simplicity. And your visitor has certainly accomplished that. Commander Voss has mobilized resources normally reserved for ancient weapon-level threats. She approached Naruto without apparent concern for potential danger, studying him with the focused assessment of someone trained to evaluate both threats and assets with equal precision. The energy distribution is fascinating, she observed, circling him with analytical interest. Similar to devil fruit patterns but fundamentally different in structure. More integrated with your biological systems rather than superimposed. Naruto blinked in surprise. You can see chakra flow. Not exactly see, Koala clarified. Fishman karate involves sensing and manipulating energy currents. I've adapted the technique to identify different power signatures. She demonstrated by flowing her hand through the air near him, fingers tracing the outline of his chakra field with surprising accuracy. Yours is unlike anything in our database. The casual reference to a Revolutionary Army database of power signatures raised numerous questions, but Luffy's impatience redirected the conversation before anyone could explore that particular revelation. Why are you here, Koala? Is Sabo okay? The question contained genuine concern beneath his typically direct delivery. Koala's expression softened momentarily. Sabo is fine, busy with the aftermath of recent events, but well. She redirected her attention to the broader group. I'm here because Dragon-san detected the energy pulse from Spiral Island 3 days ago. The activation of ancient technology at that scale concerns us, particularly with both world government and Emperor forces converging on the location. Robin exchanged glances with Naruto before responding carefully. We encountered historical artifacts that responded to certain genetic markers. The information recovered may provide context for Void Century events, including the origin of devil fruits, Naruto added, seeing little point in concealing information from someone who already knew about dimensional crossing. The Uzumaki clan, my bloodline, appears connected to their creation. Rather than surprise, Koala's expression reflected confirmation of existing theories. That aligns with certain historical fragments we've recovered over the years. The Revolutionary Army has been tracking Bloodline connections to ancient powers since its formation. She turned to Robin directly. Dragon-san suspected the Ohara scholars had discovered similar connections before the Buster Call. Your survival P.R.E. serves knowledge that might otherwise have been lost entirely. The reference to Robin's destroyed homeland might have been tactless from others, but Koala delivered it with respectful acknowledgement. T of shared struggle against oppressive forces. Robin inclined her head slightly, recognizing the intent behind the words. The information crystal we recovered contains comprehensive historical records, she confirmed. I've only begun preliminary translation, but it appears to document the entire process of devil fruit creation, including the dimensional transfer that brought the original Uzumaki to this world. This information visibly excited Koala, though she maintained professional composure. Such knowledge would be invaluable to our understanding of the world government's foundations, and potentially their vulnerabilities. Quote, it's not a weapon, Naruto interjected firmly. It's history. Understanding. There's a difference. Koala studied him with renewed interest, her assessment seemingly recalibrating based on this principled stance. Sometimes understanding is the most powerful weapon against oppression. The Revolutionary Army seeks to dismantle corrupt systems, not simply replace them with different tyrants. Her gaze shifted toward Yamato, who had remained deliberately peripheral to the conversation. Though I admit some surprise at finding a beast pirate commander among your company. Kaido's organization isn't known for historical scholarship or ideological flexibility. Yamato straightened, meeting the revolutionaries' evaluating look with direct candor. My P.R. essence is independent of Kaido's interests. I carry the diluted bloodline that connects to these discoveries. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing the spiral birthmark that had earned her recognition. In beast pirate hierarchy, not through family connection but through power compatibility. Koala examined the mark with genuine scientific curiosity. The Revolutionary Army has documented similar patterns in certain bloodlines, particularly those with exceptional devil fruit compatibility or unusual hereditary abilities. Like Dragon's weather manipulation, Naruto asked, recalling descriptions of Luffy's father's reputed powers. The question caused a momentary flicker of surprise across Koala's features before she recalibrated to this apparent knowledge. Among others, the world government has systematically hunted certain bloodlines for centuries while cultivating others under their control. The celestial dragons, Robin surmised. Their obsession with bloodline purity isn't mere aristocratic arrogance, it's preservation of specific genetic traits. Precisely. Koala nodded with approval at the archaeologist's quick connection. Which brings me to my purpose here. Dragon-san requests an alliance of information sharing regarding these discoveries. The Revolutionary Army has pieces of this historical puzzle that might complement what you've recovered. Luffy, displaying his characteristic blend of simplistic decision-making and surprising insight, grinned broadly. Sure, if my dad wants to help figure out Naruto's spiral mystery, that's fine by me. The casual acceptance of such a significant alliance might have seemed reckless from any other captain, but those familiar with Luffy recognized his uncanny ability to assess character and intention beneath surface presentations. Perhaps we could begin by examining what you've translated so far, Koala suggested to Robin. In exchange, I can share certain Revolutionary Army intelligence regarding world government operations concerning bloodline research. Robin considered briefly before nodding. A preliminary exchange seems reasonable, though full access to the information crystal would require more formal arrangements. As the two women headed toward Robin's study, Naruto found himself impressed by the seamless negotiation that had established tentative cooperation without compromising core security. He archaeological scholar and revolutionary operative demonstrated professional respect that transcended their different approaches to combating the same oppressive system. The remainder of the night established a cautious but productive information exchange. Koala proved to possess both extensive historical knowledge and practical field experience that complemented Robin's scholarly expertise. Together they began constructing a more comprehensive understanding of how the Uzumaki bloodline had influenced this world's development across centuries. By dawn, the revolutionary ship had departed. With preliminary agreements established, information sharing would continue through secure channels, while both parties maintained operational independence. Koala had returned to her vessel with copies of Robin's initial translations and a promise to reciprocate with Revolutionary Army historical archives. As sunrise painted the horizon in watercolor hues of amber and rose, Naruto found himself once again on the figurehead. This time accompanied by both Robin and Yamato. The three had formed an unlikely research triad: scholar, beast pirate, and dimensional visitor, united by their connection to ancient mysteries that transcended factional boundaries. The Revolutionary Army's interest confirms the significance of what we've discovered, Robin observed, reviewing her notes from the night's exchange. Their historical archive apparently contains references to spiral-blooded visitors that align precisely with Uzumaki clan characteristics. Koala seemed particularly interested in the genetic aspects, Yamato noted. Her questions focused on bloodline transmission rather than just historical events. Naruto nodded, having observed the same pattern. The revolutionaries are tracking something specific about how these abilities transfer between generations. Something beyond just devil fruit compatibility. Awakening, Robin suggested, referencing a concept Koala had mentioned repeatedly. Advanced devil fruit users sometimes experience a secondary transformation that significantly enhances their abilities. The revolutionary intelligence suggests this process might actually be accessing more of the original Uzumaki power encoded in the fruits, which would explain why awakened abilities often manifest with spiral patterns, Yamato added, pieces connecting in her analytical mind. They're expressing more of the original bloodline's nature. Their theoretical discussion paused as Naruto suddenly winced, a sharp pain lancing through his chakra network without warning. The sensation passed quickly but left a lingering warmth concentrated in his palm where the recall key had been absorbed. It's happening more frequently, Robin observed with concern, having documented these episodes with scientific precision. The integration process is accelerating. It doesn't feel dangerous, Naruto assured her, though uncertainty tinged his voice. More like reconfiguration. My chakra network adapting to recognize this world's energy patterns. Yamato studied him with the focused assessment she developed through years of monitoring Devil Fruit users under Kaido's command. Your energy field is expressing multiple Devil Fruit signatures simultaneously. That should be impossible. The standard limitations prevent multiple fruit abilities in a single host. Because they're fragments of the original system, Naruto theorized, conceptualizing the relationship in new terms. Devil fruits are specialized applications of what was originally a comprehensive chakra framework. My body already contains the complete system, so it's recognizing the fragments as aspects of itself rather than foreign elements. The implications were staggering, suggesting Naruto might potentially access multiple devil fruit-like abilities without the standard limitations or weaknesses. Before they could explore this theory further, Usopp's voice called from the crow's nest with practiced urgency. Marine vessels approaching from the southeast. Battle formation, multiple ships. The peaceful research atmosphere evaporated as the Straw Hats transitioned seamlessly into combat readiness. Luffy bounded to the ship's bow, eagerly scanning the horizon while Nami consulted navigational charts to identify potential escape routes. Frankie disappeared below decks to prepare Defa NSIVE systems while Brook and Chopper secured vulnerable equipment. Through his enhanced perception, Naruto immediately recognized a familiar energy signature among the approaching forces. Voss is leading them. His energy pattern is distinctive, artificially augmented but with that spiral undertone we identified before. He's persistent, Robin noted with professional respect despite their adversarial relationship. And apparently capable of tracking us despite our evasive sailing pattern. He's not tracking the ship, Naruto realized with sudden clarity. He's tracking me specifically. He changes in my chakra system are creating a distinctive signature that his specialized equipment can detect. This assessment proved accurate as the marine vessels adjusted course with each subtle movement of the Sunny. Maintaining perfect interception trajectory despite Nami's increasingly complex evasive maneuvers. We can't outrun them, the navigator concluded after evaluating their options. Not with their current tracking capability. Then we fight, Luffy declared with characteristic directness, punching his palm in anticipation. Zoro and Sanji moved to flanking positions while Jinbei prepared aquatic countermeasures. The crew's combat formation establishing itself with practiced efficiency. Naruto, however, recognized the tactical disadvantage of their position, open water off. Limited defensive options against superior numbers, particularly with specialized forces like Voss's unit. We need to change the parameters, he stated, strategic mind evaluating alternatives. As long as I'm aboard, they'll maintain pursuit regardless of your evasive capabilities. What are you suggesting? Robin asked, immediately recognizing the direction of his thinking. I create a diversion. Draw them away while the Sunny escapes to the rendezvous coordinates we established with the revolutionaries. Naruto's tone made clear this wasn't impulsive heroics but calculated tactical assessment. My shadow clones can create multiple energy signatures to confuse their tracking systems. Yamato stepped forward, her expression resolute. I'll accompany you. My knowledge of world vermin pursuit protocols could prove valuable, and my devil fruit ability provides mobility advantages in marine environments. I'm coming too, Robin stated with quiet firmness that brooked no argument. The information crystal requires continued translation, which I can perform during travel. Additionally, my ability facilitates communication across distances that conventional methods can't match. The logical presentations of their arguments impressed Naruto, neither woman appealing to emotional considerations but offering practical advantages their abilities would contribute to the mission. This approach resonated with his own tactical thinking, acknowledging both their combat capabilities and specialized knowledge. Luffy considered the proposal with uncharacteristic seriousness. Captain's authority momentarily overshadowing his typically carefree demeanor. After brief contemplation, he nodded decisively. Split up, confuse them, meet at the Revolution Place in 3 days. His simplified summary captured the essential strategy while demonstrating surprising strategic grasp beneath his casual presentation. But if you're not there in 3 days, we're coming to find you. The statement contained both practical timeline and personal promise, typical of the rubber captain's straightforward loyalty to his friends regardless of tactical complications. With the decision made, preparations proceeded with efficient urgency. Nami provided navigational calculations for the most likely interception vectors, while Frankie prepared one of the Sunny's auxiliary vessels for the diversionary team. Robin secured the information crystal and essential research materials in waterproof containers, her academic thoroughness ensuring knowledge preservation regardless of potential combat conditions. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that transformed to match the appearance of various crew members, each maintaining enough of his distinctive chakra signature to register on track. King equipment while introducing confusing variables into the pursuit algorithm. The clones will separate in different directions, he explained as the diversionary groups prepared to deploy. Each, maintaining enough energy output to register as potentially the original. It should divide their pursuit forces rather than allowing concentrated interception. Yamato nodded approvingly at the tactical approach. Voss will recognize the strategy eventually, but the confusion should provide sufficient extraction window. As final preparations completed, unexpected farewells revealed the bonds had formed during their shared journey. Chopper presented Naruto with specialized medical supplies adapted for his unique biology, while Brook composed an impromptu melody that he claimed would sustain spirits during challenging separations. Sanji provided premium rations prepared with consideration for extended travel without proper cooking facilities, and Usopp contributed customized signal flares designed to mimic Naruto's chakra signature for emergency communication. Most surprisingly, Zoro approached with gruff directness that barely concealed genuine respect. "You fight well for someone from another dimension," the swordsman acknowledged, offering a small flask of exceptional sake, a warrior's token for challenging paths. These gestures, practical rather than sentimental yet containing unmistakable consideration, demonstrated how completely the dimensional visitor had been accepted among this unusual crew. Naruto received each with appropriate appreciation, recognizing rare compatibility he'd found with these individuals whose unconventional approaches and absolute loyalty to each other mirrored values he'd always held dear. The departure unfolded with precision. Timing as the Sunny executed a specialized maneuver Frankie called coup de burst, a propulsion system that launched the ship temporarily airborne through explosive force. This unexpected trajectory disrupted the marine pursuit calculations momentarily, creating the diversion window necessary for multiple smaller vessels to deploy simultaneously in different directions. Naruto, Robin, and Yamato departed in their designated craft while shadow clone teams created additional energy signatures radiating outward in carefully calculated patterns. Through his sensory abilities, Naruto tracked the marine vessels' reactions, their formation fracturing as they attempted to pursue multiple targets simultaneously. "It's working," he confirmed as their sleek vessel skimmed across waves in the opposite direction from the Sunny's dramatic aerial departure. They've divided into pursuit teams rather than maintaining concentrated formation. Robin manipulated the craft's rigging with multiple hands sprouting from the deck, optimizing their speed while maintaining lowest possible profile against the horizon. Yamato periodically generated ice platforms that altered their wake pattern, further conference. Using tracking attempts through disrupted hydrodynamic signatures. Voss is leading the team following our trajectory, Naruto updated as they increased distance. His specialized abilities make him difficult to deceive. We need to introduce additional variables. There's an island chain approximately 12 nautical miles southeast, Robin calculated, consulting the charts Nami had provided. Quote, uninhabited but with sufficient geological features to disrupt energy tracking. Volcanic activity, Yamato elaborated, recognizing the formation Robin indicated. Natural energy emissions that mask our signature if we navigate correctly through the thermal vents. Their coordinated expertise guided the vessel toward this natural interference zone, each contributing specialized knowledge that complemented the others. Robin's archaeological familiarity with geographical formations, Yamato's tactical experience with pursuit evasion, and Naruto's sensory capabilities tracking their pursuers' adjustments. As they navigated toward the island chain, Naruto felt another surge of energy ripple through his chakra network, more intense than previous recalibrations and concentrated in distant patterns that corresponded with specific devil fruit abilities he'd observed among the Straw Hats. Your system is cataloging devil fruit expressions, ***, Kurama observed with fascination. recognizing them as specialized applications of the original chakra framework. The adaptation manifested physically as faint golden patterns briefly appearing across Naruto's skin, spiral formatio. NS that traced the fundamental chakra pathways before fading from visibility. Robin documented the phenomenon with scientific precision while Yamato observed with evident recognition. Awakening patterns, she identified with certainty. Similar to advanced devil fruit evolution but more comprehensive. Your body is systematically integrating the fragmented abilities into your existing framework. Can you control it? Robin asked, practical concern underlying her academic interest. Not deliberately yet, Naruto admitted, concentrating on the unfamiliar energy flows. But each integration becomes more accessible than the last. I'm starting to recognize how devil fruit abilities translate to chakra applications. He demonstrated by extending his hand toward the water alongside their vessel. With focused concentration, he generated a localized freezing effect similar to Aokiji's ice fruit ability, though limited in scale and requiring visible effort to maintain. That should be impossible, Yamato stated, watching the demonstration with professional assessment. Logia-type manifestation without consuming the corresponding fruit. It's not exactly the same, Naruto clarified, releasing the technique as fatigue immediately set in. More like, recognizing how to reshape my chakra to mimic the effect. Extremely inefficient compared to an actual devil fruit user, but theoretically possible with any ability I've directly observed. The potential implications were staggering, suggesting Naruto might eventually access a comprehensive array of abilities that normally required specific devil fruits. Though with considerable energy expenditure compared to dedicated users. More significantly, it confirmed the theoretical relationship between his chakra system and the specialized applications that had evolved in this world. Their discussion paused as they entered the volcanic island chain, a maze of jagged rock formations rising from turbulent waters, steam venting numerous fissures where tectonic activity created natural energy disturbances. Robin navigated with precise knowledge of safe passages, while Yamato periodically generated ice bridges across dangerous gaps. Voss has split his pursuit team, Naruto updated, tracking their pursuers through extended sensory awareness. 3 vessels circling the island chain's perimeter while his specialized craft attempts direct pursuit through the formation. He's persistent, Yamato acknowledged with professional respect despite their adversarial relationship. And familiar with these evasion tactics. He's displaying pursuit patterns consistent with high-level Revolutionary Army extraction protocols. Suggesting he's encountered similar situations before, Robin concluded, the analytical observatio. Raising troubling questions about how many dimensional travelers might have preceded Naruto, and what might have become of them under world government containment. Their vessel threaded between ring stone columns shrouded in volcanic mist, the natural interference progressively degrading Naruto's ability to track pursuit craft through sensory perception. This environmental limitation worked both ways, however, as Voss's specialized detection equipment would similarly struggle against the island chain's chaotic energy emissions. We should establish temporary shelter, Robin suggested as daylight began fading. Continuing through these formations in darkness presents unnecessary navigational risks. They located a suitable cove nestled between volcanic outcroppings, naturally concealed from external observation while providing defensible position against potential discovery. As they secured their vessel, the temporary respite allowed opportunity for Robin to continue translating the information crystal's contents while Yamato established perimeter security. Naruto created shadow clones to extend their surveillance network, each positioned strategically throughout the surrounding area with instructions to disperse rather than engage if discovery occurred. This precaution established multiple layers of warning systems while preserving their primary objective of evading capture rather than confrontation. As night settled across the island chain, volcanic activity increased. Magma flows beneath the surface creating eerie red-orange illumination that reflected against low-hanging clouds of steam. This primordial landscape provided appropriate backdrop for Robin's continuing translation of ancient records documenting the original merging of worlds. According to these accounts, she reported, examining crystalline data through specialized lenses Frankie had constructed, the dimensional crossing wasn't accidental but deliberate. The Uzumaki clan apparently detected Some kind of interdimensional threat, and established outposts in multiple realities to monitor its development. What kind of threat? Naruto asked, the revelation adding concerning context to his unintentional arrival. The texts refer to it as the Devourer between worlds, an entity or force that consumed reality itself, leaving void in its wake. Robin's scholarly precision didn't diminish the ominous nature of this discovery. The Uzumaki created stable crossing points called spiral doors to maintain communication between dimensional outposts monitoring this threat. And the devil fruits? Yamato prompted, her personal connection to this history evident in her focused attention. Tools for native allies, Robin translated, following complex data structures with remarkable comprehension. The Uzumaki discovered they couldn't bring most people through dimensional boundaries safely, but they could transfer aspects of their power through biological mediums adapted to each reality's natural laws. This explained the fundamental relationship between chakra and devil fruits, the latter being specifically engineered vectors for transferring abilities across dimensional boundaries in forms compatible with this world's biological systems. The fruits were never intended as random power distribution, Robin continued, each translation revealing more significant historical context. They were specifically designed for chosen guardians who would maintain vigilance against dimensional incursions while the Uzumaki coordinated defense across multiple realities. Then something went wrong, Naruto surmised. Connecting historical fragments with current reality. The system broke down, knowledge was lost, and devil fruits became scattered powers without their original purpose understood. The Great Fracture, Robin confirmed, finding corresponding records. Some cataclysmic event approximately 900 years ago destabilized the dimensional boundaries. The Void Century Bega, and immediately afterward, suggesting the world government's foundation might have been response to this interdimensional crisis rather than purely political revolution. Or exploitation of it, Yamato suggested darkly. Seizing control during chaos while suppressing knowledge that might challenge their authority. Their historical analysis continued through the night, each revelation providing co-end text for both Naruto's arrival and the world government's extreme response to dimensional crossings. The ancient records suggested periodic thinning of boundaries between worlds, with dimensional veilers occasionally crossing accidentally during these phases, explaining potential predecessors Voss might have encountered and contained. Dawn approached with crimson intensity magnified by volcanic activity. The island chain awakening to renewed tectonic movement that sent tremors through their temporary shelter. As they prepared to resume their journey, Naruto's enhanced senses detected family AR energy signatures approaching their position with concerning precision. Voss has triangulated our location, he warned, tracking multiple vessels converging on their position. They've adapted IR tracking systems to compensate for the volcanic interference. We need to move immediately, Yamato responded, already securing their essential equipment with practiced efficiency. Remaining in fixed position against specialized pursuit units reduces survival probability exponentially. Robin completed downloading critical translations from the information crystal, securing the data in multiple redundant storage devices that she distributed among them, ensuring the knowledge would survive even if individual carriers were captured. This pragmatic precaution reflected her lifetime expertise. NCE preserving historical information against systematic suppression. As they prepared their vessel for immediate departure, a massive explosion shattered the pre-dawn stillness, not directed at their position, but targeting the narrow channel that provided their only viable exit from the concealed cove. They're not attempting capture, Yamato assessed grimly as falling debris blocked their escape route. They're containing us for direct confrontation. The tactical shift suggested Voss had abandoned conventional pursuit protocols in favor of forced engagement, a concerning development that indicated escalating response authorization from superior command. Standard world government procedure prioritized capture over confrontation when dealing with unique subjects of scientific interest. We need alternative extraction, Robin stated, assessing their deteriorating tactical position with calm precision. The blocked channel eliminates maritime escape options. Naruto closed his eyes briefly, extending his awareness through the shadow clone network to evaluate potential routes. There's a volcanic fissure system running beneath this entire formation. Some chambers are large enough for passage if we can access them. Underground extraction through active volcanic systems. Yamato questioned, though her tone suggested professional assessment rather than rejection. Extremely high-risk variables. Higher probability than direct confrontation with Voss's specialized unit, Robin countered with practical calculation. Particularly given his demonstrated capability to disrupt Naruto's chakra system. The decision crystallized as marine vessels appeared at the cove's entrance, their formation clearly visible through the dissipating morning mist. At their center, Voss's SPECI-leased craft deployed what appeared to be energy-dampening equipment designed to restrict Devil Fruit abilities within targeted radius. Underground it is, Naruto confirmed, already creating Shadow clones to prepare diversionary tactics covering their actual escape route. We'll need to move quickly once we locate suitable access point. Yamato approached the volcanic rock wall at the cove's rear, pressing her palm against its surface with focused concentration. There's a thinner section here. My ice generation can create sufficient thermal shock to fracture the barrier without triggering broader structural collapse. Her Devil Fruit ability manifested with impressive control, freezing selected portions of the volcanic rock before applying concentrated force to specific stress points. The precision demonstrated years of experience manipulating her powers beyond mere combat application into specialized utility functions. As Yamato worked on creating their escape route, Naruto deployed shadow clones transformed to match their appearance. Each team received specific instructions to generate visible activity suggesting defensive preparations rather than escape attempts, maintaining the illusion of cornered targets while the actual extraction proceeded covertly. Robin simultaneously used her ability to create observation points across the cove, multiple eyes blooming on strategic surfaces to monitor marine deployment patterns. Her calm assessment provided continuous tactical updates as Voss established his containment perimeter with methodical precision. Primary target is definitely you, she informed Naruto after observing the specialized equipment being deployed. They're establishing chakra disruption fields similar to what Voss used during our previous encounter, but significantly expanded in scale. Quote, he's adapted his approach based on our last confrontation, Naruto noted with professional respect despite their adversarial relationship. The equipment configuration suggests he's anticipating specific chakra manifestations rather than general energy disruption. This specialized preparation indicated Voss possessed detailed analysis of Naruto's abilities, suggesting either extensive observation during previous encounters or access to historical records documenting similar capabilities from previous dimensional travelers. Yamato completed creating their escape route, a narrow but viable passage accessing natural caverns beneath the volcanic formation. The tunnel system connects to larger chambers approximately 40 meters below our position. From there, multiple routes extend throughout the island chain, potentially providing alternative exit points beyond their containment perimeter. As they prepared for descent, Robin secured their most critical resources, research materials, survival equipment, and the information crystal itself carefully protected against both physical damage and energy-based detection. Her methodical approach to preservation reflected lifelong experience protecting knowledge against systematic efforts to destroy it. I'll go first, Naruto decided, creating additional shadow clones to secure the passage ahead of their actual descent. My sensory abilities can identify stable routes through the volcanic system. I'll maintain rear security, Yamato volunteered, her ice abilities providing both structural reinforcement for unstable sections and potential defensive capabilities if pursuit breached their escape route. Robin positioned herself between them, multiple hands sprouting along the passage wall. LLS to create communication network extending throughout their planned extraction route. This application of her ability demonstrated remarkable versatility beyond direct combat applications, creating infrastructure that compensated for the underground environment's limitations. Their descent began as Marine forces initiated their containment assault, specialized units deploying around the cove's perimeter while Voss personally directed equipment calibration from his command vessel. Through shadow clone observations, Naruto monitored their opponent's methodical approach, the commander displaying neither haste nor uncertainty, but calculating precision that suggested absolute confidence in his containment strategy. The volcanic tunnel system proved simultaneously more promising and more treacherous than anticipated. Natural caverns extended throughout the island formation, many large enough for comfortable passage, but tectonic instability created unpredictable hazards as magma flows periodically redirected through interconnected chambers. Naruto led their progression with enhanced sensory awareness, detecting potential dangers before physical signs became apparent. His shadow clones established forward scouting pattern that mapped viable routes while identifying dead ends or unstable sections requiring alternative paths. The volcanic activity is increasing, he warned after I'd traversed nearly a kilometer through the underground system. Magma flows are redirecting toward this section of the island chain. Deliberate, Yamato assessed grimly. Voss is using specialized equipment to manipulate tectonic pressure points. It's an advanced world government containment technique for subterranean extraction scenarios. This revelation demonstrated disturbing sophistication in their opponent's tactical approach. Voss systematically eliminating escape options through environmental manipulation rather than direct pursuit, effectively herding them toward predetermined interception points. We need to introduce unpredictable variables, Robin suggested, analytical mind identifying countermeasures to systematic containment. Conventional evasion patterns are being anticipated and countered through environmental control. Naruto nodded, recognizing the tactical stalemate developing through predictable response patterns. We need something they can't predict because say it doesn't exist in their tactical database. The solution manifested through necessity as they entered a massive cavern where multiple volcanic vents converged, the chamber's floor consisting entirely of volcanic glass suspended above active magma flows. Their planned route forward had been deliberately destabilized through Voss's tectonic manipulation, leaving no conventional path available. We're being channeled toward the surface exit on the island's western edge, Yamato identified, recognizing the tactical pattern from her extensive experience with world government containment protocols. They've established primary interception position there with specialized chakra disruption equipment. Then we don't take their designed exit, Naruto decided, studying the seemingly impassable chamber with strategic assessment rather than defeat. We make our own. He closed his eyes, concentrating on the internal changes that had been progressing through his chakra system since the encounter with ancient technology. The spiral patterns that had manifested periodically across his skin now reappeared with deliberate focus, golden lines tracing fundamental energy pathways as he accessed the newly integrated aspects of this world's power system. What are you attempting? Robin asked, recognizing the significant energy manipulation building within his system. Devil Fruit abilities are fragmented applications of the original chakra framework, Naruto explained, maintaining concentrated focus on specific pathways. I've been unconsciously integrating them into my existing system. Now I'm attempting deliberate application. The golden patterns intensified as he systematically activated specific pathways corresponding to abilities he directly observed among various devil fruit users they'd encountered. Rather than attempting single powerful manifestation, he combined multiple smaller applications into comprehensive approach addressing their specific tactical situation. First, he generated controlled ice formation similar to Aokiji's ability, creating stable platforms across sections of the volcanic glass floor that had begun fracturing under tectonic pressure. Next, he applied localized gravity manipulation reminiscent of Fujitora's technique, reducing their effective weight to enable movement across these temporary structures without triggering complete collapse. Remarkable, Robin observed with academic fascination despite their precarious situation. You're combining multiple devil fruit effects simultaneously, something that should be fundamentally impossible in this world's power system. Because they're not separate powers in the original framework, Naruto explained through concentrated effort, the combined techniques clearly requiring significant energy expenditure compared to natural applications of his native abilities. They're specialized applications of the same fundamental system. The integrated approach created viable passage across the otherwise impassable chamber, though requiring constant adjustment as volcanic activity continued intensifying around them. Yamato provided additional support through her Azure Dragon abilities, periodically reinforcing Naruto's ice formations where tectonic pressure threatened structural integrity. The Marines are adjusting their containment pattern, Robin reported through her extended observation network. They've detected anomalous energy signatures that don't match expected devil fruit manifestations. Voss will recognize the integrated application, Yamato predicted with concerned certainty. His specialized knowledge includes historical documentation of similar capabilities from previous containment operations. This assessment proved accurate as they felt concentrated. Disruption waves suddenly penetrating the volcanic chamber. Specialized equipment recalibrated to target Naruto's unique energy signature now that he'd revealed more advanced integration capabilities. He's tracking the specific frequency of the combined application, Naruto confirmed, feeling targeted interference attempting to disrupt his chakra pathways. We need to reach the chamber exit before he completes full spectrum calibration. Their progress accelerated as environmental conditions deteriorated around them, the volcanic chamber's structural integrity compromising under both natural tectonic pressure and deliberate external manipulation. Magma levels rose beneath the transparent floor while toxic gases vented through widening fissures in the surrounding walls. They reached the chamber's far side as the disruption waves intensified to debilitating levels, Naruto's integrated techniques beginning to destabilize under targeted interference. The exit passage revealed another cetical complication, a vertical shaft extending upward nearly 30 meters through solid volcanic rock with no viable climbing surfaces. Vertical extraction point, Yamato identified grimly. Standa, road containment protocol, forcing targets to choose between remaining in deteriorating environment or emerging at predetermined interception coordinates. The tactical design left conventional extractee on methods non-viable, climbing impossible due to shaft configuration, while devil fruit abilities would be expected and countered by specialized equipment positioned at the surface exit point. The integrated approach Naruto had developed for horizontal passage wouldn't transfer effectively to vertical extraction requirements. Robin assessed their options with calm precision despite increasingly dangerous environmental conditions. We need unconventional vertical mobility that won't register on standard devil fruit detection parameters. The solution manifested from unexpected direction as Naruto felt another surge of energy reorganization within his chakra network, the integration process apparently accelerating under stress conditions. This time, however, the adaptation felt different, not mimicking observed devil fruit abilities but accessing something more fundamental to his original nature. The seal is adapting, Kurama observed with fascination. The changes in your chakra system are affecting our connection directly. Golden energy began manifesting around Naruto's form, not the familiar chakra cloak of their synchronized state, but something new that incorporated elements of this world's energy system into their established bond. The manifestation extended outward in distinctive tails that maintained physical substance rather than pure energy projection. Physical manifestation, Robin observed with academic precision despite their urgent situation. Similar to mythical zone transformation but with chakra-based properties rather than devil fruit parameters. The transformation continued evolving as Naruto directed conscious focus toward the adaptation process rather than resisting its development. Golden fur materialized across his form while anatomical structures reconfigured into fox-like characteristics that maintained humanoid functionality, essentially manifesting physical expression of the Jinchuriki bond that had previously remained primarily energetic in nature. Interesting, Kurama commented, experiencing the transformation from within their shared consciousness. This world's energy system prefers physical manifestation over pure chakra projection. It's translating our bond into terms it understands. The completed transformation resembled advanced Jinchuriki state but with physical substance replacing energy projection. Golden fur covering anthropomorphic fox form with 9 distinct tails manifesting as prehensile appendages rather than chakra constructs. Most significantly, this manifestation generated no detectable devil fruit energy signature that Vasa's specialized equipment could target. This might work, Naruto assessed, testing the new form's capabilities with experimental movements. The physical manifestation maintained his chakra-enhanced strength and sensory capabilities while adding anatomical adaptations specifically suited for their current extraction requirements. Without further discussion, he extended his transformed appendages toward his companions, the prehensile tails wrapping securely around Robin and Yamato to create stable transport mechanism. With chakra-enhanced legs, he leapt upward into the vertical shaft. Newly adapted claws finding purchase against the volcanic rock where conventional climbing would have proven impossible. The ascent proceeded with remarkable efficiency. each powerful leap carrying them further up the shaft, while the physical transformation rendered Naruto effectively invisible to specialized devil fruit detection equipment calibrated for energy-based manifestations rather than biological adaptations. Voss's containment strategy had been designed to counter conventional abilities without accounting for this unprecedented hybridization between chakra system and biological transformation. They reached the shaft's upper terminus to find exactly what Yamato had predicted, an exit point surrounded by specialized equipment designed to disrupt devil fruit abilities and chakra manifestations. Multiple marine units maintained strategic position around the perimeter, while sensors monitored for specific energy signatures associated with their targets. Surface emergence in 60 seconds. Robin reported through her observation network, eyes blooming briefly near the exit to assess deployment patterns. Standardized containment formation with N-G disruption grid activated across primary extraction vector. They're expecting conventional emergence techniques, Yamato noted, analyzing the tactical formation with experienced precision. Equipment configuration is optimized for energy-based abilities rather than physical adaptation. Naruto considered their options, maintaining the transformed state that continued rendering him actively invisible to specialized detection parameters. We need diversionary emergence at multiple points simultaneously. Create confusion about actual extraction vector while we identify viable secondary escape route. With focused concentration, he created shadow clones that immediately transformed to match their appearance, conventional duplicates rather than sharing his adapted form, ensuring they would register on detection equipment. Each clone team received specific instructions to emerge at different points around the containment perimeter, creating simultaneous distractions while the actual group remained concealed within the vertical shaft. The diversionary tactic proved effective as marine units responded to multiple simultaneous emergence events, containment resources dividing between apparent targets while command structure attempted to identify genuine extraction among coordinated decoys. This momentary confusion created the opportunity Naruto had anticipated. There, Robin identified through her observation network, indicating a section where tectonic activity had compromised the containment perimeter. Volcanic instability has disrupted their sensor grid approximately 30 degrees east of our position. With decisive movement, Naruto redirected their ascent toward this vulnerability, powerful leaps carrying them up the remaining shaft section before emerging precisely where the containment system had been compromised. His transformed state continued providing both enhanced mobility and effective camouflage against specialized detection as they cleared He perimeter before organized response could redirect. Once beyond immediate containment, they traversed volcanic terrain with remarkable speed, Naruto's transformed state maintaining both transport at ion capacity and environmental adaptation as they navigated unstable surfaces and toxic atmospheric conditions. The physical manifestation proved uniquely suited for extraction through hostile volcanic environment. Combining chakra-enhanced capabilities with anatomical adaptations specifically evolved for survival in extreme conditions. The marine formation is fragmenting, Robin reported through continued observation network. Voss has identified our actual extraction vector but lacks sufficient personnel to establish secondary containment while maintaining primary perimeter. We've introduced sufficient tactical variables to compromise standardized containment protocols, Yamato assessed with professional satisfaction. Their response algorithm requires recalibration before effective pursuit can resume. This assessment proved accurate as they reached the island chain's northern extremity, volcanic activity progressively diminishing as they distanced themselves from Voss's tectonic manipulation zone. Here, natural coastal formations provided viable extraction options where traditional maritime escape became possible once more. They located a suitable inlet sheltered from direct observation, where fallen volcanic stone created natural breakwater protecting small internal harbor from surrounding open waters. Most fortuitously, several abandoned fishing vessels remained partially submerged but structurally intact, presumably left by previous inhabitants when increasing volcanic activity had rendered the island chain uninhabitable. Salvageable, Robin assessed, examining the most promising craft with multiple hands simultaneously evaluating structural integrity at different points. Requires minimal restoration for short-range maritime functionality. Yamato immediately applied her abilities toward vessel restoration, ice generation creating temporary structural reinforcement where degradation had compromised essential components. This application demonstrated H.'s extensive maritime experience beyond combat applications, knowledge clearly developed through years serving among Beast Pirates' naval operations. Naruto maintained his transformed state while establishing perimeter security, enhanced senses monitoring for pursuit signs while shadow clones created observation network extending across surrounding terrain. The physical manifestation had stabilized into sustainable form that balanced enhanced capabilities with manageable energy consumption, suggesting successful integration between his chakra system and this world's biological adaptation parameters. You should return to standard form while energy requirements remain manageable, Robin advised with practical concern. This transformation appears to consume resources at accelerated rate compared to your conventional techniques. Quote, Naruto nodded, consciously directing the transformation's reversal through gradually diminishing chakra flow rather than abrupt cessation. The process unfolded with controlled precision, physical adaptations receding systematically while energy patterns reintegrated into his standard configuration. As the transformation completed its recession, however, unexpected development manifested. Not all physical changes fully reversed. Subtle adaptations remained permanently integrated into his base form, slightly enhanced canine teeth, more pronounced whisker markings, and faintly visible golden patterns beneath his skin that traced fundamental chakra pathways. Interesting, Kurama observed from their shared consciousness. The transformation has permanently altered your baseline physical parameters. This world's energy system appears to favor biological adaptation over temporary manifestation. Permanent physiological integration, Robin noted with scientific precision, documenting the changes with academic thoroughness despite their continuing tactical situation. Similar to advanced zone-type evolutionary adaptation rather than temporary transformation state. Consistent with hereditary bloodline characteristics, Yamato added, her assessment drawing from extensive experience observing genetic expression among devil fruit users. The spiral blood manifests cumulative adaptations through successive transformations rather than reverting completely to baseline state. This development suggested profound implications regarding Naruto's continuing evolution in this world, each transformation potentially contributing permanent adaptations that progressively enhanced his baseline capabilities rather than requiring conscious manifestation for access. The integration between chakra system and biological structure appeared to be proceeding toward comprehensive synthesis rather than remaining distinct operational frameworks. Their vessel restoration proceeded with remarkable efficiency through complementary skill application. Robin's multiple limbs performing simultaneous repairs across different sections, Yamato's ice abbey. Liddy's providing structural reinforcement where materials proved insufficient, and Naruto's shadow clones contributing raw labor capacity that multiplied their effective workforce. Within hours, they had rendered the abandoned fishing craft seaworthy enough for short-range coastal navigation. Marine pursuit has reorganized, Naruto reported through extended sensory awareness as they completed final preparations. Voss has abandoned the containment strategy in favor of direct pursuit with concentrated resources rather than distributed perimeter. Tactical adaptation, Yamato acknowledged WITH professional respect despite their adversarial relationship. He's recognized our capability to compromise standardized containment protocols and shifted to mobile interception approach. This strategic adjustment demonstrated their opponent's adaptability, Voss systematically eliminating ineffective approaches rather than persisting with compromised methodologies. Such tactical flexibility made him significantly more dangerous than conventional marine commanders following standardized protocols regardless of demonstrated ineffectiveness. As they prepared for departure, Robin completed securing their essential research materials. The information crystal and its partial translations protected against both physical damage and energy-based detection through specialized containment she developed during her years preserving prohibited knowledge. This precaution ensured the historical discoveries would survive regardless of potential interception during their continuing journey. Their departure proceeded under cover of approaching storm, meteorological conditions providing natural concealment as they navigated from the sheltered inlet into surrounding coastal waters. Naruto maintained Ed extended sensory awareness monitoring pursuit vectors, while Yamato applied her weather prediction experience developed through years navigating unpredictable new world conditions under Kaido's command. We should maintain coastal trajectory rather than open water crossing, Robin suggested, consulting navigational charts with practical maritime knowledge. The archipelago extending northwest provides continuing concealment opportunities while progressing toward rendezvous coordinates. This approach balanced tactical concealment with strategic progression, extending their journey time frame, but significantly reducing interception probability through environmental advantage utilization. Open water crossing would provide more direct route but expose them to specialized detection without intervening geographical features disrupting tracking capabilities. As they established sustainable cruising pattern along the archipelago's extended formation, Robin resumed her translation work, the information crystal continuing to yield historical revelations providing context for both Naruto's dimensional crossing and the world government's extreme response to such occurrences. According to these records, she reported, examining crystalline data through specialized lenses, the Uzumaki established multiple dimensional outposts specifically because this particular reality demonstrated unusual properties regarding natural energy manipulation, properties that made it strategically significant. Naruto prompted, recognizing military assessment patterns from his own world's history. Precisely, Robin confirmed, following complex data structures with remarkable comprehension. This dimension apparently possesses unique characteristics regarding energy transference between biolog, ical organisms and environmental systems, capabilities the Uzumaki recognized as valuable for specific applications impossible in their native reality. Devil fruits, Yamato surmised, connecting his historical fragments with current understanding. They discovered this world could sustain stable biological integration of specialized abilities that remained temporary manifestations in their original dimension. This explained fundamental differences between chakra system and devil fruit framework, the latter representing successful adaptation of temporary techniques into permanent biological capabilities through exploitation of this world's unique natural properties. The Uzumaki had essentially engineered persistent power manifestation where their native dimension supported only transient application regardless of technique mastery. The fruits were technological innovation rather than natural discovery, Robin continued translating. Specifically engineered biological vectors exploiting this dimension's unique properties to create stable power transference between individuals without requiring comprehensive training infrastructure. Military application, Naruto identified immediately. Recognizing strategic development patterns, rapid power distribution among allied forces without extensive preparation timeframe. Robin nodded, scholarly precision confirming his tactical assessment. The records describe accelerated Guardian development protocol, essentially converting specialized individuals into combat-ready defenders through single biological intervention rather than years of conventional training. This revelation provided critical context for the world government's extreme response to dimensional crossings, suggesting they understood, at least partially, the military implications of the original Uzumaki presence in their world. Knowledge suppression became logical strategic response when maintaining power monopoly against potential asymmetric capability distribution. Their historical analysis continued through night as their vessel maintained steady progress along the archipelago coastline, each revelation providing deeper understanding of the complex interdimensional relationship that had shaped both worlds' development across centuries. The information crystal contained comprehensive documentation of the original Uzumaki outpost's activities, including detailed records of experimental modifications that eventually produced the first devil fruit prototypes. Most significantly, the historical documentation confirmed Naruto's developing theory regarding his unusual adaptation process. His Uzumaki bloodline contained the original genetic framework upon which devil fruits had been modeled, allowing his body to recognize their specialized applications as aspects of his inherent system rather than foreign elements requiring rejection or limitation. The compatibility explains your ability to integrate multiple fruit-like abilities simultaneously. Robin concluded after comparing historical specifications with her observations of Naruto's evolving capabilities. Your genetic structure contains the comprehensive framework rather than specialized implementation, essentially recognizing all fruit variations as fragments of your original system. Which is why the ancient technology responded to my blood, Naruto added, connecting Sapara Te discoveries into coherent understanding. It recognized administrative access patterns encoded in my genetic structure, essentially identifying me as maintenance authority rather than experimental subject. Dawn approached with unexpected tranquility, their vessel continuing steady progress without pursuit indication, suggesting Voss's tactical adjustment hadn't yet yielded their actual escape vector. This temporary reprieve provided opportunity for rest rotation among their small group, with Robin currently maintaining navigational responsibilities while Yamato and Naruto recovered from ended exertion during their volcanic extraction. The peaceful progression shattered without warning as Naruto's enhanced senses detected approaching threat, not from expected pursuit vector behind them, but from open water to their starboard side. A distinctive energy signature approached with concerning velocity, moving with directed purpose that indicated specific targeting rather than coincidental intersection. Single vessel approaching from northeast, he warned, immediately alert despite recent rest period. Unusual energy configuration, not marine or conventional pirate. Robin adjust their course while Yamato moved to defensive position, both responding to warning with practiced efficiency that demonstrated extensive experience handling unexpected threat emergence. Through coordinated preparation, they established ready posture without panic or wasted motion, each assuming complementary responsibilities based on individual capabilities. The approaching vessel materialized Fr. Own morning mist with distinctive crystalline construction. They recognized immediately, the mysterious third faction that had observed their encounter on Spiral Island without direct engagement. Unlike previous observation, however, this approach demonstrated clear interception intent rather than passive monitoring. They've been tracking us independently from Voss, Yamato assessed, observing the vessel's direct approach vector. Specialized methodology outside standard world government or emperor faction capabilities. The crystalline vessel halted at conservative distance, close enough for communication but maintaining sufficient separation for tactical disengagement if interaction proved hostile. A single figure appeared on its forward deck, their appearance obscured by distinctive robes decorated with spiral patterns unmistakably similar to Uzumaki clan designs despite subtle variations in specific implementation. Uzumaki Naruto, the figure called across intervening water, voice carrying with unusual clarity despite moderate separation distance. Last scion of the spiral bloodline. Your return was foretold, though circumstances differ from projected parameters. The direct address containing specific knowledge of his identity immediately confirmed sophisticated intelligence capabilities beyond coincidental encounter. Most concerning was reference to foretold return, jesting prophecy or predetermined expectation rather than opportunistic interception. Who are you? Naruto responded directly, maintaining neutral tone while assessing potential threat indicators through enhanced perception. And how do you know who I am? We are guardians of the spiral legacy, the figure replied, lowering their hood to reveal distinctive features, pale skin with faint golden spiral patterns similar to those manifesting during Naruto's transformation, white hair containing subtle crimson highlights, and eyes demonstrating unusual vertical pupils reminiscent of certain animal species. Our order has maintained vigilance since the Great Fracture, preserving knowledge against systematic suppression while awaiting the Bloodline's return. Robin studied the individual with scholarly assessment, cataloging specific characteristics against historical references contained in the information crystal. Their physiological manifestations suggest genetic modification similar to prototype devil fruit development documented in ancient records. Artificial bloodline integration, Yamato identified with professional recognition. Similar to certain world government experimental subjects but with significantly enhanced stability suggesting superior implementation methodology. The assessment proved accurate as the figure extended their hand, manifesting golden energy remarkably similar to Naruto's chakra manifestation despite subtle differences in flow pattern and distribution characteristics. This display demonstrated unmistakable connection to Uzumaki bloodline abilities while simultaneously confirming non-natural implementation through specific expression limitations. We offer sanctuary and information exchange, the Guardian stated, maintaining formal diplomatic approach despite evident eagerness beneath professional exterior. Our installation contains historical archives documenting the complete spiral legacy, including dimensional crossing method, Methodologies your kind employed during original outpost establishment. The offer contained exactly what Naruto sought, potential methodology for returning to his native dimension, while simultaneously raising concerning questions regarding this organization's actual nature and objectives. Their knowledge of his identity and apparent expectation of his arrival suggested agenda extending beyond simple historical preservation. Your timing is remarkably convenient, Robin observed with scholarly skepticism honed through lifetime experience with deception. Arriving precisely when world government pursuit has temporarily lost our position. Quote, "We have monitored your progression since arrival," the Guardian acknowledged without hesitation. "Our observation capabilities exceed conventional methodology through implementation of preserved ancient technology. We deemed direct intervention appropriate only after confirming genuine bloodline manifestation through observed transformation sequences." This explanation contained disturbing implications regarding surveillance capabilities, suggesting this organization had observed their entire journey including private interactions and confidential research activities. Such comprehensive monitoring indicated technological sophistication beyond any faction they'd previously encountered in this world. "And why should we trust you?" Naruto asked directly, maintaining polite diplomacy while establishing clear boundaries. "Your organization has observed without assistance until now, suggesting objectives beyond simple historical preservation." Guardian's expression shifted subtly, respect rather than offense at direct questioning. "Skepticism demonstrates appropriate caution given your experiences since arrival. We offer verification through shared knowledge impossible to acquire through conventional means. They produced small crystalline objects similar to information storage device they'd recovered from ancient chamber but significantly more advanced in apparent design. This contains complete documentation of the Uzumaki clan's original dimensional crossing methodology, including specific bloodline-linked activation sequences required for stable transit implementation." Robin studied the offered device with scholarly assessment, her extensive experience evaluating historical artifacts enabling preliminary authenticity determination despite advanced technology. The construction methodology matches highest-tier ancient manufacturing techniques documented in surviving records. If fraudulent, the reproduction quality exceeds any modern fabrication capability. The Guardian extended the device toward them, not approaching personally but utilizing small drone platform that delivered the crystalline object directly to their vessel before returning to its origin point. This transfer methodology maintained tactical separation while demonstrating technological capabilities significantly beyond conventional implementations. "Examine the contents," the Guardian invited with confident certainty. "The first access sequence requires specific bloodline activation, confirming both authentication and appropriate user authorization simultaneously." Naruto accepted the device cautiously, studying its construction with enhanced perception that detected subtle energy patterns flowing through crystalline structure, active technology rather than passive storage medium. When he channeled small amount of chakra into the device, it responded immediately, surface illuminating with golden light while projecting three-dimension display containing detailed Uzumaki clan symbols arranged in specific sealing pattern. "It's genuine," he confirmed with surprised certainty, recognizing proprietary clan methodologies impossible to falsify without extensive insider knowledge. These are advanced Uzumaki sealing techniques specifically restricted to bloodline members. No outside researcher could replicate this level of detail regardless of historical access. Robin examined the projected information with scholarly fascination, her extensive knowledge enabling preliminary translation despite specialized terminology. The methodology describes stable dimensional traversal utilizing bloodline-specific energy manipulation to create temporary passage between correspondent realities. Similar to summoning techniques but macroscale implementation. Naruto elaborated, recognizing fundamental principles underlying the complex methodology. Creating bidirectional transit capability through synchronized anchor points in corresponding dimensional locations. The implications were momentous. Potential methodology for returning to his native dimension while potentially establishing stable connection for continued interaction rather than permanent separation. Such capability would transform their historical discoveries from academic documentation into practical implementation with profound implications for both worlds. The complete methodology requires specific location parameters, the Guardian explained, maintaining respectful distance while providing essential context. Our installation contains the necessary infrastructure for implementation, including original dimensional transit framework established during initial outpost development. Your installation location? Yamato questioned with tactical assessment underlying apparent curiosity. Approximately 3 days' journey from current position, the Guardian replied without hesitation. Location deliberately established distant from conventional navigation routes to minimize discovery probability by hostile elements. The invitation presented both extraordinary opportunity and concerning security implications, potential methodology for diamonds. Ional transit while simultaneously requiring entry into unknown factions' territory without independent verification of their actual intentions. Such decision required careful assessment balancing potential benefits against security considerations. We need time to consider, Naruto stated diplomatically, neither accepting nor rejecting the proposal outright. And confirmation that pursuit forces remain sufficiently distant for deliberation without immediate pressure. The Guardian nodded with apparent understanding. World government pursuit remains occupied with false signatures approximate 80 nautical miles southwest of current position. Their specialized detection capabilities have been temporarily compromised through targeted electromagnetic interference generated by our protective systems. This casual revelation of active intervention against Voss's pursuit efforts significantly altered previous understanding of this faction's operational parameters, suggesting capability wise and willingness to directly oppose world government operations rather than merely observe from concealed position. Such active countermeasures indicated organizational resources beyond small preservation society. We will maintain protective perimeter while you deliberate, the Guardian concluded, preparing to return to their vessel. Communication can be established through the provided device when decision is reached. We recommend proceeding before world government forces recalibrate their detection methodology, as subsequent interception probability increases exponentially beyond 48-hour threshold. With this practical assessment, the Guardian returned to their crystalline vessel, which departed with remarkable acceleration capabilities that further demonstrated technological superiority beyond conventional maritime implementation. Within minutes, it had disappeared beyond visual range, though Naruto's enhanced senses could still detect its distinctive energy signature. Maintaining position at extended perimeter. Well, that was unexpected, Naruto observed once the vessel had departed, studying the crystalline device with cautious fascination. A secret society dedicated to Uzumaki legacy preservation wasn't on my dimensional bingo card. Their technological capabilities significantly exceed conventional parameters, Robin noted with scholarly precision. Energy manipulation demonstrated during their departure suggests implementation methodology beyond any modern faction, including world government specialized divisions. Concerning operational security implications, Yamato added with professional assessment. Their surveillance capabilities clearly exceed our detection parameters, suggesting prolonged observation without our awareness. Despite legitimate security concerns, the potential opportunity presented extraordinary value, both historical knowledge preservation and practical dimensional transit methodology that might enable Naruto's return journey while maintaining connection between worlds rather than permanent separation. Such capability would transform their discoveries from academic documentation into practical implementation with profound implications. We should proceed with cautious engagement, Robin suggested after careful deliberation. The historical value alone justifies controlled interaction, while maintaining appropriate security protocols against potential deception. Agreed, Yamato concurred, practical assessment recognizing opportunity despite security implications. Their demonstrated capabilities against world government pursuit suggest valuable alliance potential regardless of historical considerations. Naruto studied the crystalline device containing potential methodology for returning home. Opportunity he'd sought since arrival in this dimension. Yet accompanying this discovery came unexpected complications regarding responsibilities associated with his bloodline's apparent significance. In this world's historical development, the Uzumaki legacy clearly extends beyond what I understood, he acknowledged, contemplating implications beyond personal considerations. My clan apparent L.Y. established foundations that fundamentally shaped this world's development through devil fruit implementation. Creating responsibility that transcends dimensional boundaries, Robin observed with philosophical insight. Knowledge often carries obligation regardless of intentional acquisition. This perspective resonated with Naruto's fundamental values. Responsibility accompanying power had defined his approach to Jinchuriki status throughout his development. The discovery that his bloodline had similarly influenced an entire dimension's power structure created comparable obligation rigor. Less of his personal involvement in original implementation. We'll accept their invitation, he decided after careful consideration. But maintain independent capability throughout engagement. No separation, no surrendering equipment or resources, and continuous assessment of actual intentions beyond stated historical preservation. With decision established, they adjusted course toward coordinates provided through the crystalline device, beginning journey toward potential dimensional transit capability while simultaneously approaching faction whose actual nature and objectives remained partially obscured despite apparent historical connection. The path forward contained both extraordinary opportunity and concerning unknowns requiring continuous vigilance throughout engagement. As our vessel proceeded toward this unexpected destination, Naruto felt another surge of energy reorganization within his chakra network, the integration process continuing its progressive development regardless of external circumstances. The golden patterns beneath his skin briefly intensified before settling into new configuration that incorporated additional pathways previously unavailable in his standard implementation. The changes are accelerating, Kurama observed from their shared consciousness. Your chakra network is adapting to this world's natural energy patterns with increasing efficiency. Evolving toward what end? Naruto wondered internally, sensing purposeful direction rather than random adaptation in the continuing changes. These modifications feel intentional somehow, as though following predetermined implementation parameters. Perhaps they are, the Nine Tails suggested thoughtfully. If the Uzumaki created devil fruits through genetic engineering, they likely established specific adaptation protocols for pure bloodline carriers entering this dimension. This possibility suggested concerning implications regarding predetermined paths, the why concept Naruto had consistently rejected throughout his development, yet simultaneously offered practical advantages through enhanced capability implementation specifically designed for interdimensional operation within this reality's unique parameter framework. The continuing evolution would proceed regardless of philosophical considerations, his bloodline responding to this world's natural RGY patterns through adaptation processes apparently encoded within his genetic structure generations before his birth. The resulting capabilities would provide practical advantages while simultaneously connecting him more fundamentally to this dimension's operational framework. As their vessel continued toward uncertain destination containing both extraordinary opportunity and concerning unknowns, Naruto accepted that his journey had progressed beyond simple interdimensional accident into something more significant. Connection between worlds that had been separated centuries before but remain fundamentally linked through bloodlines that transcended conventional boundaries. The Uzumaki spiral that had defined his heritage had now connected him to legacy-spanning dimensions, responsibility. Why that couldn't be abandoned regardless of personal preference or desire for simpler path forward. Whatever awaited at their destination would undoubtedly reveal further connections requiring careful navigation between predetermined expectation and independent determination. His bloodline had awakened to this world's unique properties, beginning evolution that would ultimately determine not only his personal capabilities but potentially the relationship between dimensions separated centuries before through cataclysm that neither fully understood. The spiral path forward contained both extraordinary discovery and concerning obligation requiring balanced approach that honored historical legacy while establishing independent implementation beyond predetermined expectation. Whatever awaited, Naruto would face it as he always had, with determination that acknowledged responsibility while refusing to surrender independent choice to predetermined destiny. His bloodline had awakened to new potential, but the application of resulting capabilities remained his to determine regardless of ancient expectation or historical precedent. Chapter 3 End. The End. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.